Hello, and welcome to PodCrash, episode number
8.
Episode number 8. This week's
Wow.
guest is Edward Clancy. I was researching you earlier, and I found that the most impressive statistic I could find is that you've broken the world record 8 times.
Is that right? Wow.
For the team pursuit.
Well, we don't have it anymore, but it was great while it lasted.
Well,
We had
I
it for
mean-
10 years or so. Yeah.
Yeah, but breaking it 8 times is pretty cool.
Yeah. Can't complain. I
Bit
was
of
happy
back
with
and
that.
forward.
Yeah.
And he's also a 3-time Olympic champion,
Wow.
and he's the granddad of the team at 34 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't forget the CBE.
Oh yeah, no, he's got a CBE.
OBE. OBE.
No, OBE, yeah.
OBE.
yeah.
Sorry, you've got an
OBE,
OBE, yeah.
You two are both on M's, right? Just men.
I have an MBE, Callum doesn't.
All right, okay. What does the O stand for?
Order of the British Empire.
Order. Yeah, okay.
Callum, why don't you have an MBE?
Don't know.
Well, that's a good point to start on, yeah. Why don't you have an MBE, Callum?
I don't know. I'd love for anyone to write in and tell me why. But,
Did you turn it down?
I don't know. I just don't know.
Let's skip to the next topic, maybe.
Yeah. I actually don't know why this is. Yeah.
It's not public knowledge yet.
Oh, right.
Well, it
Oh,
is
it is
now.
now, yeah.
It is now.
We're going to have to start this again then, or should we just roll with this?
we can roll with it. It's
We
fine.
can roll with this, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Fuck it. It should be out there anyway.
Yeah. But I thought like this got like the knighthoods and so on, the honours get announced, like, the first.
Yeah, they do. So I
Okay.
think if anyone did some research, they could probably figure out that every GB Olympic gold medalist has got one, apart from me. So,
Okay.
or maybe they think he did something.
So we're announcing it now.
We're announcing it now. It turns out.
I'm sorry, Callum.
I didn't think that'd be something going on today.
Yeah, great.
But we know that sometimes you get a little bit aggravated that you've only got an O instead of a C.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't care at all. The thing is, it just depends, doesn't it? It doesn't go off sporting achievement, does it? It's services to sport. So from that point of view,
Well, no, it's pretty basic on sporting achievement. Like everyone who gets a gold gets an MBE.
Yeah.
I mean, Phil's done nothing for sport.
he's got 2 Olympic golds, and there's people that have been.
Yeah, but what's he given back?
I'm sure there's been people knighted for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Nothing.
Yeah, there has. Yeah,
You're right,
Jess
yeah.
Ennis got knighted for Dame who did for a gold and a silver.
Okay, yeah. So it goes on. I guess the thing is in cycling, I've got 3. Phil's got 2. You know, we're not big names. We're definitely not big names outside of the sport.
Yeah.
So,
Well-
but they can't give everyone a knighthood, can they?
Well, I've got a special statistic for you that'll make you feel better. There's someone who's
Okay.
achieved more than you, but is still on OBE.
Pete Reed, the rower.
No more. He's the same.
Right.
Well, less than you, sorry, because he hasn't got a bronze.
Yeah.
So there's a equestrian rider called Charlotte Durgin,
Wow.
Dujardin.
Yeah.
who got 2 golds in 2012 and a gold and a silver in 2016.
Wow. Yeah.
Still OBE.
Yeah.
So it's still time, mate. Don't worry.
That's good. Yeah.
Jason Kenny, Britain's most successful Olympian.
Yeah.
6
Well,
Olympic
that's the
golds,
thing,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. And Laura Trott as well. She's the most successful female
Yeah.
of all time, right, in this country.
Yeah.
I think you get it when you retire. She'll probably get
Yeah.
a damehood when she retires, and Jace will get a
Yeah, but
knighting.
normally they get it while
get
they're
a
on
good
route,
knight,
Yeah,
right?
but Callum, Jason retired at some point.
Oh yeah, he did retire, didn't he? Jason did
Yeah.
retire.
Yeah, good point.
Maybe
yeah.
they want to make sure that you've retired because
But
Jace
don't-
had a false retirement.
Yeah, forced retire. Don't call it
Yeah,
a comeback.
yeah.
Don't call it a comeback. Jason Kenny back on.
Do you think Jace is going to retire after Tokyo?
I don't know. I've heard you've put your stake in the ground about Tokyo. We're going to get to that later on.
I'm going, yeah.
Well, I mean that's that ruined. May as well just
Yeah.
call off the interview now.
No. We're supposed to go into more detail, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now that we've introduced our guest a lot better than we normally do, we have the news.
We have the news. I have no news this week.
Come on, Phil.
I was pretty tired today after training,
oh Christ,
actually.
that's not good
That's
news.
my news.
Oh, no.
I was pretty grumpy on
Alright,
the drive
let's
here.
talk
He was
about-
so grumpy on the way here.
Sprinters, you should never be tired.
It's a
Right,
different kind of
Shut
tired.
up.
Right, you're the highest paid rider in the world
That's Berkey.
per kilometre.
That's Berkey.
It's a close one, but I reckon it's you. You know?
No, he just got his funding cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that said, he still only does 1 or 2 laps these days. Is it 2 laps sometimes?
He was
2
considering
laps,
going
yeah.
for 3.
Okay, yeah. 3, yeah.
Yeah,
I was,
not a good
yeah.
idea.
I
though.
don't know. He
No.
just refuses to go full distance in training.
Quite
despite being-
frequently.
Yeah.
2 laps is a long way, guys.
Yeah. Look,
Anyways.
I know you guys spend time in the gym and that, but it's not the same.
The amount of times you've come back down from a sprint session or gym session and you just were going so shit in training. You was like, why am I going so shit? And they told you it's because of the gym.
The gym is tough, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not
It's
tough,
a different
but it
kind of
doesn't-
training.
You used to put a
Yeah.
knee warmer around your head as a headband, didn't you?
Um,
In the gym sometimes.
Yeah, or
It's like
That's
a
what they call
rubber
that.
band
The stretchy bands you're supposed to put on
Yeah.
your knees and stuff when you're doing squats. Yeah.
Thelaband.
thing. I
Rio
actually
ready.
like to mention Callum cheated on me the other day.
I did cheat on him. Yeah, I went to
Yeah.
a different podcast. I
Did a
went.
different podcast.
Oh, really?
I did a podcast with a guy called Ben Coomber, who apparently has the #1 fitness podcast in the UK.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
Phil will be happy to know I gave PodCrash many shout-outs. So expect big things for the next episode. So that's going out on
It's gonna
Thursday.
Take
Wow.
off now.
Podcasts, eh? Do you reckon it's the future, Callum?
I don't listen to any. I have no idea.
This is a form of social media, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I think it's the least offensive and the best.
Do you like him?
I don't like social media, but I like podcasts. And in fact, it was Phil that got me started.
Have you listened to ours?
I've listened to Owen Duels this morning.
Oh, right, okay.
Did you listen to the whole thing?
I was getting ready for a bike ride, but I listened to an hour of it. It was an hour 15 long, right?
Probably.
Something
So
around
most
that,
of it, yeah. Joe Rogan's amazing. Tommy Busted, I like him as well.
Yeah, he's got a good one.
Yeah.
All about
The
mental
one he
health.
did with Charlie was amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll maybe get him on one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did a 5 Live late night radio show on last Tuesday. We had
Yeah, how
good
did that go?
topics. We talked about dick pics, unsolicited dick pics.
Have you ever sent a dick pic?
I've never sent an unsolicited dick pic. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It means like if you send it without people's permission. So apparently people in like people have been doing it on like airdrop in train stations and stuff.
Okay.
But then that's super creepy because you know the person's nearby.
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just like Snapchat. So
Right.
apparently like 1 in 5 or something like that, or women have received a dick pic,
We've done it a few times with
No way.
funny
One in
no,
5?
funny.
something like that. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. We've done it a few times with
Oh.
funny memes where you just go on airdrop and send funny memes to random people.
Ah, yeah. Fair enough.
I had no idea.
But
this
I've
could
never
be
done it
done.
with a dick pic.
Right.
No, you would never do that. You're
No.
very shy.
So with
Yeah.
airdrops, there's no security. You just.
I don't think so.
So
No.
long as you-
I think
Well, you can turn it
anyone-
off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, watch out. I did some BOA educational videos for the 2020 games.
That would be very uninspiring for.
So you'll have to watch that. Talk through my Olympic journey for people who are going to the 2020 games. So maybe you'll be seeing a video of me talking through what it's like to be an Olympian and what to expect, what not to expect. So you can look forward to that when you go for your kitting out.
I'm excited. I've never been to kitting out. Not for
Oh, yeah, you
Commonwealth
never
Games,
go?
Never for Olympics. Never been.
Okay, well Phil can look forward to it because
Yeah.
you'll get the screw turned on you and you'll have to go.
That would be very uninspiring. But yeah.
Mm.
That's a bit harsh. And some of the Glasgow Rugby team want to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
And and for the next episode, a shout out already. We're going away from cycling.
Yes, we actually got.
Wow. That's a
quite
good job
int-
because I don't really know that much about it.
No, neither do we.
You know, when you were talking to Owen Duel on his podcast, I
It
was
was a
like,
mess, wasn't it?
no,
The
it was
classics.
great. But
No,
you,
but that's
you were talking about the classics and like this pro rider and that pro rider and I don't know, all sorts of things. I was like, wow, I've got no idea.
He knows his stuff though, doesn't he?
Yeah, you two do as
Yeah.
well.
Do you think?
Yeah.
We got Paris-Roubaix and Bruges Bruges mixed
And
up.
Flanders,
And
right,
Flanders.
yeah.
We got them all mixed up.
Yeah, but you knew riders. I remember you got the scenario wrong, but you were talking about a rider banging his handlebars at the finish.
Yeah, but Duel told me the
Yeah.
name.
Okay, yeah.
We're getting better at it.
You've done a few classics.
Yeah. I've done Liège-Bastogne-Liège. I made it to the finish, but I was about 5 hours outside the time limit.
Oh shit, okay.
Like, I'm not even exaggerating.
Nev-
Shall I continue?
Never again?
I just wasn't good enough. You know, we were preparing for Beijing at the time, and it was ace to start a massive thing like that. And as a kid,
Oh my god. Sorry, my phone went off.
Terrible.
I've got a beer in the freezer. I didn't want it to explode.
professional. Yeah.
On other news, Rod Ellingworth is off to Bahrain.
Yeah.
You know Lord quite well.
Mm.
Yeah.
He was like he was the granddaddy of the academy, wasn't he? Started it all off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
kind of coach for Team Sky for many, many years.
Mm. Yeah, well,
Well, he's
what
team
can I
he's
say?
team
He's done
princi- he's team principal of Bahrain,
Yeah.
isn't he?
I
Is
got
that what he's
no
doing?
idea. Yeah. I don't know. I went up to Rod earlier this year and I said, I thought you were working for McLaren or Mercedes now, Rod.
Yeah, it's with Bahrain.
Ah,
Yeah,
right.
it's
right,
a joint
right.
project with McLaren.
Okay. But yeah, no, this must have been 12 months ago now, and I'm surprised to still see him in a Sky tracksuit. But obviously now he's gone there, and he's obviously a smart guy. He, I think the thing that made Rod so good was he just loved it. He absolutely loved it. When we were on the academy, he'd get up at 6 a.m. just to make sure that we were on the rollers at 7 a.m. He'd literally have his ear on the front door of our house in Fallowfield, making sure we were on the rollers. And he knew, if the lights were off and you can hear some snoring noises outside Cav's room, he knew we were still in bed. He'd wake us up. He'd make sure we were there. If we were 5 minutes late for our French lesson, he'd know about it because he was there waiting for us, tapping on his his wristwatch. He was great, and to be honest, when we did make it either onto the Olympic program or Cav went off to high road and did great things there, it almost seemed easy. He made us work hard, and everyone knows the stories about us cleaning cars in the car park and
Cav setting shit on fire.
Yeah, man, the amount of times we were in Brailsford's office like begging him not to send us off the squad. Just one more chance, Dave, please. It was tough times, but I guess we learnt the hard way, and I think.
Was there something special about that group when you had Lord in charge of you guys, then you had G, Cav, yourself?
Yeah, Geraint turned up a year later. Was there something special about it? It was special for me. I mean, like, it was a big eye opener.
Well, there's a lot of names come out of there. Like, pretty much everyone that was, a lot of people that were within that circle at the time have gone on to pretty impressive stuff.
Just think about it. There's myself, Cav, Bramir, Geraint. I think we can add into that. There was a guy called Tom White, who I'm still very good mates with, but sort of never made it through the other side. Bruce Edgar. You'll know Ross Edgar from sprinting.
It's his brother.
Yeah. There's Christian Varley that didn't make it past a few months.
Okay, there's more than I thought, but they had a great time.
Yeah, but still, to get pretty much a 50% success ratio that even went off to be Olympic gold medalist or Tour de France winner or
Yeah, but there's no one treading water in there, is there? Like, all those guys that went on to be successful have been pretty successful.
I guess so. I don't know what made us successful. I guess I put it down Rod, honestly. He was a big part of that. Cav stayed in touch with him all the way through his career, and give him credit for when he won the Road World Championships and so on. And for myself, Rod was he was more of a road guy, wasn't he? And I went off and did the track stuff, but I guess he set all of us up with. He taught some good things, like he didn't let us get away with being slack or lazy or late. He taught us how to be professional, and I guess he taught us more than any. He wasn't a sports scientist as such. He's not like a master coach like perhaps someone like Tim Kerrison is.
Yeah.
Who knows physiology and the human body inside out and nutrition and anything like that. And Rod never claimed to be that. He just told you.
Just a good
small
manager.
Things like the powerful things like if you're going for a meeting, don't turn up late. Shake someone's hand. Look them in the eye. It's all right to question authority, but always respect it. Little things like that.
So he's almost like a bit more of like a kind of father figure, I guess, within the team.
I guess so, yeah. And much like a father at the time, you never really appreciated it. You were kind of like, why is this guy on my back all the time? Why is he giving us such a bad time? Why is he always on my case about filling in my training diary?
It seems obvious now because Cav was setting shit on fire.
Yeah, but I mean, once you come through the other side, he's like, damn, that guy had our best intentions at heart.
Yeah.
And like 2 or 3, 4 years after you haven't seen him, you're like, wow, that guy really wanted the best for us. And, he pretty much put us in front of everything, his own wife now and his kids now and his social and private life, just to be on our case at 6 a.m. He didn't get home until 10 p.m. because he's been there, like, scanning out our training diaries and race programs and so on. So he's, he was a good guy. And I'm sure Bahrain will appreciate him.
Do you... Yeah, no, we'll come back to that later. So, let's get to the early days of Edward Clancy. How did he get into cycling?
Yeah, boy. Right. So I guess it all started. I just like riding bikes, as a kid. That's pretty much my first memory. I can remember my Uncle John sort of like pushing me down the road on the way to the park, and without my stabilizers on, I sort of wobbling a bit and like, whoa, here we go. And
Whoa. What age was that then?
I don't know. What age the kids like ride without 4 maybe?
4 or 5,
yeah. 4. I had this white BMX with they're pretty naff, aren't they? Like plastic mag alloy, like 3-spoke wheels.
Yeah.
But I thought it was the bollocks. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Inherited off my brother. It's probably worth about £8.
Inherited? Did your brother pass away?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's still going.
He's got a hand-me-down.
Yeah, my brother's still going. Yeah. I guess I started riding BMX mountain bikes when I got a bit older. When I was sort of like 7 or 8 years old, I moved school after my parents' divorce, and then it was kind of like it was some sort of like I did it for fun. It was like my escape. I don't know. It's like life can be. Yeah, as a kid, I just enjoyed it, I just enjoyed getting on my mountain bike and sticking in my earphones and listening to a bit of Blink-182 or whatever it was back then and just hacking around. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think like that was the same for me though. I think cycling was a really good escape.
Yeah.
And like Phil will laugh at me now, but
Yeah.
like I struggled at school with like spelling and maths and all that kind of stuff, and
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
yeah, and I get like shouted at in the corridor and stuff like that, and then cycling was just took you completely away from there, or like you could make
You struggled at school with a head that big.
I know, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Wow.
In the Victorian times, I would have been an absolute genius.
Yeah.
But yeah, but you didn't have the smoothest kind of childhood, I guess. It wasn't smooth sailing the whole way through.
I don't know. I mean, like the thing is, a lot of kids have parents that divorce these days. It wasn't a particularly sweet one, let's say. I don't know. There's a small handful of people I've really told the full story to, and I don't know. I probably won't put the whole thing out there now, but yeah. Now, long story short, I remember there was a particularly traumatic morning, some sort of ruckus, let's say, and then I remember leaving in a police car with my brother, and we never went back. I guess I was about 6 or 7, perhaps, and my brother was a couple of years older than me, perhaps 8, 9. And then I was able to like move school, start a new life, and as I said, that's probably when I started riding bikes a bit more. And
So as a distraction,
yeah, I don't know, it was a distraction. You just, I don't think you often hear about like especially young boys, they need like a good male role model.
Yeah.
And you don't know it when you're a time, and you don't realise it. But I struggled between the ages of like 7 to I guess like 11, 12. I wasn't particularly good at school. I wasn't particularly well behaved.
but you get that male role model from cycling, though. I think a lot of the time.
Yeah, perhaps so. I think my male role model came in the form of my stepdad Kevin, to be honest, and Kevin Clancy. To be honest, like as soon as you saw him, it wasn't like, oh great, here's a male role model, I'm going to try and copy him. You don't think that as a kid. You just don't see it. Like, and
that's what people think when they see Phil.
Here's a mad stat that he hit me with on my birthday. I think when I turned 34, he rang me up and said, when I was your age, Ed, that's when I met your mum, and my mum was already a few years older than him, and I was like 11 and my brother was 13. I was like, wow, like that guy was my age, and he took in a woman that he loved and her 2 horrible, obnoxious teenage kids. I was like, wow, what a man. That really hit home, like how much of a good thing he was to me, and how much of a sort of kind-hearted, generous person he was. Like honestly, people talk about the heroes in terms of like sporting fans, and of course I've got those, but he's up there. He's my hero.
Oh
yeah. So it was him again. Like talking about the original question was how to get into my cycling, and it started with him really. He was the one that sort of said like, come on mate, I know you enjoy like riding around, pulling wheelies and doing skids on your mountain bike, but have you ever considered doing a bit of road racing? And there was a local cycling club called the Home Valley Wheelers, and I was like, nah, I'm not into lycra and roadie stuff. I get bullied at school. But and then
you're not the alpha male at school.
No, absolutely not.
Well, you said you were misbehaving. I don't know if it was like where you fit in that pecking order.
I went through everything. I to be honest, I got done when I was I got disciplined when I was younger for being a bully. And
really?
Then, in an incredibly short space of time, like within 2 or 3 years, I was the one being bullied.
But I think that happens quite a lot, though. A lot of people who are bullies are bullied themselves.
And I was a bully because you're unhappy about yourself, and you got no. I'm talking when I was young, like 8, 9 years old, and it was a stupid thing. I remember it now. There was a kid in the playground that I don't know. Nobody liked him for whatever reason. For whatever, I can't remember, but a few of us sort of like ganged up on him. There was no fist thrown or anything, but it was just name calling and pushing and shoving, and it was just ridiculous. I'm ashamed. And then a few years later, you're that guy, the quiet one with sort of like minimal friends that just keeps himself to himself and rides his bikes. Yeah. It's just weird, yeah.
But when did you kind of come out of your shell a bit then? Because everyone who knows you in the cycling team knows that you're not exactly like a wallflower. Like you're pretty out there and loud and excited, and someone that people go to cheer up a bit, I guess sometimes.
The academy, the academy. Like I think. I've never met anyone like Bramir and Cav. It's honestly, when those guys met me on the junior program, I was quiet and I was shy, and Tom White as well. He's a less known name, but he's a big deal when we were juniors, and they were just proper lads. They had loads of confidence. They had girlfriends. They had cars, and I was like, wow, I'm just like some weird kid that like left school to go do some engineering, and did my club time trials, and I barely had. I could have counted me entire set of friends on one hand easy.
Were you still quite quiet on talent team, or
Yeah, very quiet. Yeah,
really?
Junior program as well, and I guess it was the academy. Yeah, it forces you to grow
It's
up.
when you move from home and
Yeah,
just have to live by yourself.
About 17 usually.
you know, I was so quiet on the academy. I used to like worry about answering my phone. I didn't even like talking to the phone to people. That's nuts, isn't it?
What do you mean? Just not answer the
Like
phone?
Rod would ring me, and I got on fine with Rod, and I just know. It's just like so. I struggled in social situations like that. You know, I'm still a bit like that now. You know me better than a lot of people feel. Like, you know, when I'm in a good place and I'm happy, I'm quite happy to socialise with people. I'll stand up in front of 1,000 people.
Yeah, you're a
an
really good
AGM,
speaker.
and tell them
Yeah.
about
Been a best
marginal
man a
gains.
couple of
And
times
yeah,
as well,
this is
yeah.
how we won the Olympics. And yeah, I've been best man. And, you know, I can almost enjoy that now. But I don't know. I still have my moments when I've done 3 weeks of tour series and I'm a bit low on sleep and I'm tired and I've been talking to teammates and team managers and Ian Dyer, my coach, and sponsors and so on for the last 3 weeks non-stop, and I just close the curtains and I just think, wow, I just can't see anyone today.
Like today.
Yeah, like today. And we touched on this, we were joking earlier, but it's like I just feel like I can't.
You just want to have.
I just hide from my phone, hide from my emails. I close the curtains. I'm like, right, I just need a day of, I don't know, a complete isolation.
Play GTA in the man cave.
Yeah, that's it. I go downstairs, keep the curtains closed, I just play on the PlayStation. 6 hours later, I'm like, wow, I feel good again. And it's weird. Like Rich, a psychologist in GB, said nobody's ever sorted the problems out by not speaking to anyone and going in isolation. But funnily enough, I think I do. I'm not sorting any problems out. I don't have any problems. It's just I just need to recharge. I think that's how you define an introvert and an extrovert, to be fair. Like, the actual definition is how do people mentally recharge. You see it like someone like Dool, for example. He just loves being with the boys. You're on a training camp, you can't get enough of it. You finish a 7-hour training ride, you're jabbering away. You just go on, lads, let's all get to the cafe so we can jabber away some more. And he just can't get enough of it. He's just full of energy when he's with the boys. If you put him in Italy on his own for a couple of weeks, man, he doesn't like that. Whereas I'm not saying I'm gonna be happy in that circumstance, but I'm definitely somewhere in the middle. I like a bit of social interaction on my terms, probably like a cat, and then I'm quite happy to go away and be on my own for a bit.
Yeah, but it takes it out of you doing, like, I think appearances, like back-to-back appearances again and again, where you're kind of talking about the same thing, asking the same questions, picking up on everyone's enthusiasm again and again and again. It can kind of bring you down a little bit, I think.
Yeah. I guess you'll be doing more of it now than ever.
I think it's just because it takes a lot of energy, and it's unusual for an athlete to put energy into like presenting yourself, I guess. Because usually it's more like a physical effort, whereas if you're doing appearances and interviews and all that kind of stuff, you have to be conscious of what you're kind of, not that you have to be fake, but you're conscious of what you have to put forward, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I do like it. I like interacting with people. I like being out there. I like.
But sometimes you just need a bit of quiet time.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. You're right, Callum. What you said. You struggle, don't you, if you're there and you're trying to put on what you're supposed to be in.
But I'm kind of the same as you. Like, people always say, stop asking questions about me because I'm more interested in you. I'm like, well, I'm actually interested in what you're doing. Like, I sit around Olympic champions and cyclists all day long, like doing what I used to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'd rather hear about someone who's an accountant or a fishmonger or whatever. Like, it's interesting. I think.
Do you ever just like lock yourself away? And just
absolutely,
yeah. But the thing is, like, I don't know. It's almost people get the impression that you don't want to be around them or don't like them, or like, for example, like who do I ride a bike with right now? Like Ollie Wood, Charlie Tanfield, Kim Marnie, Mark Stewart. Like, they are the best lads I've ever met. I love them to bits. Like, every single one of them. We've got such an amazing group. But I wouldn't want to live next door to them. Like, they all live together, and they're all like, that's the group now. And I'm like out on a whim a bit, out here on my own. And I don't know, like,
I heard they saw you at a petrol station.
Yeah.
In absolute pieces, like chomping on a Mars bar or something. Like
having a litre of Coke.
Yeah, 2 litre bottle of Coke and I don't know, 200 grams of dairy milk.
But yeah, no, it's full on. It just depends what you like to do. Like everyone knows, like Francois Pervy's a bit of a lone wolf. Like, he trains by himself, even though track cycling by its definition tends to be quite social.
Yeah.
Like, he'd rather just be by himself. But I don't think it means you're social or not social. It just means that, like, when you're with people, you want to you want to be yourself, I guess. And if you're in a bad mood or tired, then that's not going to come across.
I guess not. Yeah.
But
As it is, you can have too much of anything, can't you? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But the phone thing's funny. Phil's got an issue with phones as well.
Have you?
Yeah, quite often the phone will ring and he'll look at it
Yeah.
and he'll go, "I wonder who it is." And I go, "Well, why don't you answer it?" And he goes, "No."
I only do it with numbers I don't know. If it's Ed ringing me or you ringing me,
Have I talked about this story before in the podcast?
Yeah, you have.
Oh, okay.
But it's only with numbers I don't know. Or if someone's knocking on the door.
He doesn't like to answer the door.
And I know it's like someone trying to sell me something. I just don't open it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Well, yeah, I've got this CCTV camera thing out there now, so you know who's outside the door before you don't have to go and answer it.
Yeah, that's what I need to get.
Yeah, you do, yeah. It's good that. Yeah, I never answer my phone if I don't know the number. Never, ever. I've turned the voicemail thing off as well. That's quite useful.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you two could live together quite happily then. I mean, like, the door would never get answered, and the phone would never get answered. But apart from that, it'd be fine.
I think give it a few weeks, we'd probably crack at each other. Ed would throw me out the house.
As long as you don't go in his man cave, it'd be fine.
I quite like living with a cat. Yeah, the cat's perfect. It's just enough social interaction.
Just share the name of the cat for the listeners at home.
Boris, or Mr. Boris, as we call him most of the time.
Do you actually want to know an interesting fact?
Yeah.
Mark Cavendish named his cat after Ed Clancy.
Well, so what's it called?
Ed.
Oh, and it's Ginger too.
Yeah, it's a ginger cat named Ed.
Who'd have thought it?
Yeah.
I didn't think Cav stayed in one place long enough to have a cat.
Yeah, Peter looks after it. She likes the cats.
She likes
3,
the cats.
Yeah.
3?
I think she got 3, yeah.
Oh, well, that makes it less heartfelt that only one of them's named after you now.
Yeah. Ben Swift as well. He's I don't know if he's got a flat or he was staying out in Mallorca for a while. And I got a ginger cat named Edward after me out there as well. Yeah, it's a ginger cat roaming around Mallorca.
Fair play.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I mean, this original question was how did you get into cycling? Do you want me to keep going on about that, or?
Well, no, yeah. Well,
so
what was your? What was your first discipline? Like, how did you move in? Was it always load, basically?
Man, we went off on a few tangents there. Didn't we?
We went off on one.
Yeah. After that, I don't know. To be honest, we quite quickly realised on the junior programme that I was useless on the road. I'm pretty good at smashing myself over like a 3K individual pursuit, points race, whatever. So we went on to the under-23 track programme, really. I got sort of fast-forwarded from the talent team junior track programme all very quickly. I was lucky there was a few guys like Johnny Clay that were kind of... they lent me equipment, stuff like that, because I had nothing, you know what I mean? More so these days, like the juniors, they're all like kitted out 10 grand bikes. You see them, their parents turn up in motorhomes with 10 grand bikes and...
Yeah, it's like a little like race team or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that's a weird thing, though. Like, I'm a big advocate for like having rules in like junior racing where you can only ride spokes, and it can only be clinchers and stuff like that, just to try and bring the price down. Because if someone can show up with like a £10,000 wheel set, and it just locks out the poorer kids, basically.
That's what we did back in Germany. No one was allowed wheels until a certain age.
Right. Because I think cycling is quite accessible. If you go to a club, when I went to my first club, you could beg, borrow, and steal pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Not steal. But yeah, it was all good. So you ended up doing the road, obviously. Did you do the whole kind of British cycling, try a bit of everything, and then let's move towards it?
I don't know. We did the academy, and like you said, we kind of realised that I was always good at team pursuit. It kind of suited me. I had enough endurance to get to the end, and I had an awful lot of top end anaerobic peak power, or whatever you want to call it. So quite quickly, I won't pigeonhole, that's not the right word, but I think Rod sort of saw the potential for me to ride in Beijing. Maybe in London 2012 is what we were really aiming for, but as it happened, we were a bit ahead of the game, and we just went team pursuit. In terms of the road, back then, when Simon Jones was the coach in 2007, 2008, a long time ago, man. Like, they used to think, right, well, if you're going to get a team pursuiter, you need to kind of find a fit road rider and give them enough speed to, get them off the line quick enough for a team pursuit, give them enough peak powers they could do, whatever, 700-800 watts on the front.
And the Italians still work to that method a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. More than one way to skin a cat, but I think more and more, if you look at what the Australians are doing, you just tend to find they're not really endurance riders anymore. They're kind of some sort of like sprint endurance hybrid. Almost all of those guys, I'm saying, make 1600 watts, and it's a lot of peak power for what you'd call an endurance rider. And whilst they get round a flat crit or road race, they ain't going to win any hilltop finish in the Tour de France.
So I guess from watching you in the Tour series, I've always noticed how big you are compared to other riders, like just the breadth of like your shoulders and this and that your height and your size. Did that push you towards being a track rider? I guess it did by default, but then also, why did no one push you towards sprinting? And we'll touch on that later when you did try sprinting, but I think it's quite interesting to think why you never gave that a shot.
I don't know, in the very early days, you know, when I was, 17, 18 years old, I could have gone down the sprint route and been a track sprinter. I think so, yeah. I'd have probably been more on the endurance spectrum, like yourself, to be honest, like a man v team sprint. Yeah. And I think I could have done that. I think I could probably still do that if I chucked everything in and really went for it.
Because pretty much every man 3 has had some kind of semi-endurance background. I could win the odd scratch race, I did the odd crit and stuff like that. Yeah. So did Kian, so did Matt.
Yeah.
Me and Drew were talking about it the other day, and we were thinking if you were to actually train properly for the road with power cranks and stuff like this, we think you could have actually done pretty well on the road.
No, I maybe disagree with that a little bit, because like you sound like you're a little bit half art, half science, and that's what you deal well with. So like Rod definitely gave you the art side, I guess, but BC's very science based.
You know, and it's the heart side that kind of like made the decision for me, because honestly, I thought after 2008. I'd won a gold medal in the team pursuit. That was the Olympic sort of box ticked, if you like. So you could go one or two ways with it. You could you could do some almost like Steve Redgrave-esque and try and go for be the greatest team pursuiter in history.
I thought you were about to say Bradley Wiggins and just switch from cycling to rowing like Steve Redgrave.
No. I mean, or the other side is you go to the road like Dwarves did, that like Geraint's done, and you give that a crack. But the thing is, I think I could have been a good road rider.
Yeah.
Good, not great. I think if I really went for it, if I lost weight, if I did all that, if I begged Brailsford for a Sky contract after really losing some weight and pushing that and taking a big gamble, I think I might have been good enough to carry a leader's bottles.
See,
I might have been good enough to win the odd sprint. I don't think I've got a big enough aerobic engine to, people say Cav can't climb, Viviani can't climb. Trust me, those boys compared to me, even if I was at 73 kilos and I was totally emaciated, those boys would climb way better than I do.
It's getting less and less though, because you see some of the sprinters, if it gets to the first hill stage and there's been a lot of flat in a Grand Tour, they just end up bailing anyway.
Yeah, but to get to the end of the first stage for me in a good enough place to sprint, aerobically I'm not good, man. Like, really not good.
But I think I disagree with you and Dole's assessment a little bit, because Cav is someone who doesn't maybe has power cranks and looks at that a little bit, but from what I've seen of him and kind of learnt of him, he's definitely not a science guy. Like, if you put him on an SLM rig and told him to do a peak power, he'd be useless, pretty much. It's when he gets in the race, when he gets in that race scenario, he's just unbeatable.
No, I'm talking about when you first started cycling. When was the first time you got power cranks? It was probably maybe 6 years ago, maybe? Or was it long ago?
No, I think we had him in 2008. Yeah.
Did you?
So yeah, Simon Jones was big into his science. And
when I was speaking to Drew, he said he was, maybe only got on power cranks a year before you came third at Tour of Britain.
Okay.
And then now he started training on power cranks and he started getting a lot better.
This brings up a sore topic for me, because you stole my power cranks off of me when I was an up and coming rider many times. Yeah.
I'm sorry, mate.
I was given power cranks 4 times in my career and got them taken off of me 3 times by you, basically.
If it makes you feel any better, it was absolutely me behind that decision. I want his cranks.
Mate, it was the same with my UK. It was the same with my UKSI bike, which is the special bikes we use for the Olympics. I got given that twice, and twice it got taken back off me because it went to Ed Clancy.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was absolutely fuming because I was back on this academy bike and we were doing like World Cups together and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I say people think British cycling is just infinite resources, don't they? But it's not. Yeah. It's difficult everywhere, and I guess you've got
struggling with bikes.
Yeah, is that right?
Well, it's with the homemade stuff. There's they're on a budget. Ultimately, it's expensive stuff, and you can't make endless amounts of it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I guess I don't know that the podium riders will take priority now and again, won't they? And yeah.
Mate, I was podium. Still got to take it off me. You just can't fight with Ed Clancy at the top.
No.
Yeah, that's how it should be. Sorry.
No, it's nice. It's fair. So let's talk about the lead up into Beijing. Was that like a little bit of a whirlwind? I guess it seemed like it
just happened so fast. Like I went from like really struggling in 2006, 2007 to sort of break through to like the this senior sort of team pursuit. You know, I was great in the academy. I sort of led the team pursuit there.
No, but struggling in what concept?
I
Like,
was just
you weren't
useless.
progressing.
Yeah, I wasn't progressing at
or
all.
going backwards or stalling. Because some people might say they've had a hard season, but they've still got a little bit quicker, but just not as quick as they want. Some people say they've had a bad season because they've gone backwards.
Again, it's like back to that idea that when Jonesy was coaching, it was like to be a good team pursuit, you've got to be super fit, and then you've got to have like enough speed to sort of like start well. And because I was already so good at the peak power and so quick off the line compared to Paul Manning and Chris Newton, that it was like, right, let's really push the road stuff. Let's lose some weight. Let's try and make yourself more aero through that. And I kind of like my threshold and my aerobic engine was better, but I lost everything that made me good. I was useless. I had no peak power. I did lose weight. I was probably down to like 76, 77 kilos as opposed to like 82 like I am now, and it didn't work. So I went backwards in 2007, the start of, and then quite quickly we had a new coach come in called Matt Parker, and we just tried a different concept. It's just, right, let's just be a big fat track barrel. Let's work at, let's concentrate on your strengths rather than work on your weaknesses. And within the space of, I don't know, it must have been 16, 17 months, we went from like struggling to make the senior team to like be in it. Me and Geraint was that Beijing team, and like Brad came back last minute, and obviously he was good in Beijing, not half as good as he was in Rio. And Paul Manning was in there, super consistent. He was always very strong. But I think me and Geraint led that team from the front, and that was it. I was sort of man one in the Worlds in 2008, and we kind of had that spot for the last 10 years.
You can always spot Paul Manning in the lineup because he's the only one that wears track mitts while doing a team pursuit.
Yeah.
So it seemed like there was a few different coaches had a crack at trying to get you up to that level, basically.
Yeah, I guess so. But they all did a great job, to be fair. Like,
well, they brought different things to the party, I guess.
Exactly, yeah, and that's how you learn, isn't it? By trying and getting things wrong. And what better time to try it? In the non-Olympic years, I was too young to go to 2004 in Athens. So, yeah, great. We tried different things in 2005, 2006, 2007, and all of a sudden we kind of like hit the jackpot. And to be honest, I've kind of ran with that concept ever since. Yeah, we've got to be fit, and yeah, you've got to do the road training, and crits are great for things like that, and it helps to ride on the road. But really, for me, working on your strengths makes me a better team pursuer. And I guess, in 2012, 2016 was just kind of refining what we already knew.
So you mentioned Simon Jones quite a lot, who used to be in charge of the team pursuit. So what do you make of his move? Because he's now the team director, basically, of Cycling Australia. What do you make of that move?
I think he's a very, very smart. He's very switched on, and he's a very valuable asset to the Aussies. Yeah, he wasn't always the easiest person to get on with, and when you know what, I had a good chat with him out of the Worlds actually, and.
Because basically the story of the team pursuit is that the Australians and the Brits are always the ones that end up in the gold silver final.
Yeah, we go. The Ashes on wheels. We love it, don't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing is, Jonesy's good. He's smart, and he's not scared of. He's not scared of upsetting people. I think that's pretty much the reason Sky brought him in.
But he had that catch up in Worlds, and he said,
the catch up at the Worlds. I said to him like I don't know, we just started off the small talk, good to see how you're doing, what you're up to, how the boy's looking. And then we sort of talked about the old days, and we kind of got into a couple of arguments, like, big arguments we had. I never have arguments with people, but I used to argue with Simon. And, back then and for a long time, I kind of thought, what was wrong with him? Like, what was wrong with him? Why would he say that to me? Why would he do that? And I don't know, when you get a bit older, you kind of realise it was me in the wrong. And, like, I don't know,
Do you genuinely believe that, looking back now, that it was, he was 100% like... Because I guess there's been quite a few...
I guess like Rod, I think he just wanted the best for me. And he wanted to try different things. And
you just took it a bit personally.
Yeah. And when I was a bit younger, I probably was a bit more punchy and... I don't know.
You're not able to take the criticism as well.
No, you'd fight fire with fire. And you wouldn't take criticism and sort of go away and think, maybe he's got a point here.
Yeah.
And then go back and sort of write
like
things down and reflect. If if somebody had a go at me or said something or questioned what you were doing, I'd just go, whoa.
Yeah, it's the chimp, isn't it?
I'd say, you need to look in the mirror. You know what I mean? As time goes on, you kind of think, wow, these guys, they do have a point, and they're in these positions because they are smart and intelligent. And they think things through, and so.
But I think there's quite a lot of that in BC, because I remember you had a few blowouts with Shane and stuff like that. I remember I've had big blowouts with Jan and Ian and stuff in the past. And yeah, quite a few of them I can look back and think,
yeah.
it's probably it probably was for my own good, and it kind of really makes you question what you're doing. Did you find that useful, always being challenged?
Yeah, what you said about Shane and a lot of other people in there, it's like, I do that a lot. And on the old podcast I listened to this morning with Duel, you were talking about a night out we had in Colombia, where everything going,
the infamous night out.
Yeah, and like at the time I remember thinking, like, what's their problem? Like, why not? Like, they don't own us, sort of thing. And I think they were right. They had a point. It was us. We shouldn't have done that. We were young. We were stupid, and it's not easy for those guys being in charge of us mongrels.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I try and see I try and put myself in their shoes before I sort of inflict my own views on people these days, and it helps. Yeah. Yeah. Same with Shane and things like that. Things with disagreements we had in the past. I kind of look back now and think, I can see why he thought that, and
I think some of them he was probably still long on, like when he got upset about you coming in JLT in the Lafa Condor kit or something like that, when you were meant to be in just because you were at the track and you should have been in BC kit or something like that.
I can't remember that particular argument, but yeah, you got a point. Pretty sure we signed a contract that says when you're in the building you wear GB kit. And I'm sure there's a reason I did it, but I guess if
you also used to come in with a cardboard box as your backpack, so you're quite special.
Or a Sainsbury's bag.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. Yeah.
So let's get back onto the Beijing track. So yeah, so is it a pretty big whirlwind kind of getting to that point?
Yeah, everything was like once I'd kind of worked out what clicked physically. It's kind of like living just next door to Geraint in a place called Newton the Willows. We both bought like little terraced houses back in the day. And he was such a good influence on me. He was always positive and always upbeat. Physically he was very talented. He had like loads of confidence in himself and me as well, to be fair. And I don't know, as Beijing got closer, we just grew in more and more confidence. And it wasn't arrogance, I don't think, but we were confident we could do a good job. We knew we were good, and we hadn't done anything before. And I think going into it as world champions to our first Olympics, we were hopeful that we'd come back with a gold medal, but we didn't expect it, and nobody else expected it. The British public didn't expect it.
Because it was the first time that team kind of blast onto the world stage, I guess.
Yeah, there's always, both we used to speak about it, because the Australians were Olympic champions in 2004. We kind of expected them all to come back off the road with Stuart O'Grady and was it Brad McGee or whatever, and the absolute load of hitters off the Aussie road team, basically, and show us how it's done in Beijing. It never happened. They sort of turned up. I don't know if they was ill or injured or whatever, and they had a pretty average ride, to be honest. I think they were like 4th or 5th, and off we went with a gold medal. It was brilliant. We were 22, 23 years old and just absolutely living the dream. You guys have been there. It's great. You win your first Olympic gold medal and nothing can touch you. You get back and whatever, your car's been broken into, you just couldn't care less. You know what I mean? Like, you're walking on sunshine, aren't you?
House got robbed, was sleeping on Callum's floor for
couldn't
like a
care
month.
less, yeah.
That was the first time I experienced that euphoria. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it was like Phil was homeless living in my lounge after he won Olympic gold, and he didn't give a shit.
No, you don't.
And you don't know what that's like until you've been there, and then you realise that you could be hit with a massive tax bill. You could probably be like beat up in the street, and it doesn't matter.
You're just surrounded by like an invincible shield of like, I don't know, just
euphoria,
and, ego or whatever it is, or just you're just happy and content with yourself. But like everything, it doesn't last.
So
it is something Steve Peters told me I've never forgot, and it's the same for. This can be applied to like achievements and possessions. Like their appeal doesn't last. So let's talk about a lottery winner. So you win the lottery, and overnight you got bang, you've got everything you've ever wanted. You're happy, you don't have to work, you've got no pressure, you've got no stress, you've got the mansion, you've got the Bentley, you've got all that, you've got the American dream, whatever you want to call it. And then after a period of 6 to 18 months, you tend to fall back to that same baseline of happiness. And that baseline is not based so much on like your social status or your achievements, your possessions. It's based on how well you sort of like fit into your own values, whatever they are.
So how did you deal with that? Because obviously, I won that gold. I got that euphoric high, and then I decided I'll go and do something else. Whereas like for you, like you decided to keep going, and different riders have struggled a little bit. Like Bradley's talked about how he had a period of kind of alcoholism, I guess, after Athens, I guess. About it's about how you find how you get back on a level after having that euphoric high? A lot of people dip, but then, what did you think after Beijing? Were you going to get going again? Did you want more, or where did you sit?
Almost everyone struggles, I reckon. Almost everyone, and sometimes it's the day after. Like I think, so I won't mention their names, but almost like the day after, they've lost their purpose. They've lost their reason to be, and they lost like literally the next day when they wake up. For probably like, I don't guess me and Phil, we just live the dream, don't we? We go out and we have nightclubs and we dance around and we laugh and rejoice and do daft things. And I guess for me personally, I think that lasts for about 6 months, and then you hit like, I don't say rock bottom. It's definitely not rock bottom, is it? But you're kind of like, wow. So that was that then, and that becomes your new sort of status quo. Like you are Olympic medalist, and it's like no longer it's no longer celebrated as such, or at least in your own head. It's like, that's who I am. I'm now Ed Clancy with an Olympic gold medal and an MBE, and it's like, that's my baseline. It's like, how do we do that again? Do we do that again to try and get 2 gold medals and try and, I don't know, do something better than that? Do we try and go for a double, another event?
It's tricky. I think it's emptiness within yourself, but also externally as well, because you come home, you got that first class flight. The public are like totally enthralled in the Olympic Games, and then obviously they move on to something else like the World Cup or the Six Nations or something like that. And then for yourself as well, you realise all those problems that you were ignoring because you're a world champion and you had that because you're Olympic champion, you have that shield. Yeah, they're still there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I had a drop like everybody else did, and I guess what keeps me coming back, what brought me back again after 2012, that was an even bigger slump for me, I'd say, was that I just like riding my bike. And if you don't make it any more complicated than that, if you enjoy riding your bike with your mates, you'll keep coming back, whether you're winning or you're losing. And of course I want to win.
But it's different. It's different like that on the BC squad, because there's an expectation. You can't. It's not just riding your bike for a jolly. You're not just going down the park on a Saturday. It's like there's when you're on that competition line, they expect results.
Yeah,
and even more so once you're Olympic champion.
When we get on that start line in Tokyo, people will expect us. The commentator will talk it up like anything other than a gold medal will be a failure. We've won the Olympics the last 3 times, so why go back? So if we get a gold medal, that'll be sort of like status quo. And if we don't, that'll be. But
well, not even that. Like if you get a gold medal, but you don't break the world and the Olympic record at the same time, then.
But we've got to put it in perspective, haven't we? Like the thing is, like, I'd much rather be in this position than be a guy fighting for 7th or 8th. You know what I mean? That doesn't have a realistic chance of getting a medal at all. So we've got to think about it from a logical point of view. This is an amazing position to be in, like an absolute amazing thing to go into Olympic Games as a favourite for a medal. You know what I mean? For 99.99% of the population to go to an Olympic Games and come back with a bronze medal at just one Olympics, that'll be like, wow, fair play. We've done all right here. Yeah. Like, fair play to us. Like, all of us here, we've been part of that British cycling Olympic dream. We've been part of it's got to be one of the most successful Olympic teams in history, right? We've been part of that.
Yeah, and every single athlete, bar one, that GB have sent to Olympic Games has come away with a medal since 2008.
So you can only really judge it by giving your best, right? Because that's all you can ever do. It's stupid to think anything else.
I'm not sure it's such an advantage to be the favourites though, because I think that comparison, so we went into the 16 games pitching for maybe a bronze if we were lucky.
Yeah.
But it's the same. It's probably the same with you in 2008. Like, you didn't expect to win. Yeah. But obviously in London, it was expected of you.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
So it's a bit of a flick, isn't it?
It is, but it's like, I don't know what you call it, like media talk. It's like, well, they're expected to do it. It's just noise coming out of people's mouths. When you think about it,
when you get in the man cave, it all goes away, basically.
Yeah, it's just noise, isn't it? It's a fictitious bar that we've set. It's a fictitious bar. When you go in there, everyone starts from scratch, and it's like the best team will win, and like your past doesn't count for anything. You go in there, you do your best, and you come away with whatever. You come away with a medal or nothing. And think about. We've got to put this in perspective, boys. Obviously, I want to go there and win. I absolutely do. There's no doubt about that. And I want to make sure that my life's in a certain way that I can get there in my last Olympics and say, when I get off that bike, I've done there's nothing I couldn't have done better, right? And that's what success looks like. You can have this dream. There's a difference between a dream and a goal. The dream is to walk off there, with a 4th straight Olympic gold medal and be like, damn, here we go. We've just, signed off being the best team pursuit rider. That's a dream. Okay, like that's out of my control. However, what's in my control is like what I eat, what I drink, how much I sleep, how well I fill in my training diary, how well I communicate with Ian Dyer. Like those are my goals. And if I adhere to like 5 or 6 key goals, that's what success looks like.
It's always easier said than done, because just on the sofa you've got the 6 Olympic gold medals sitting here.
Yeah.
And then when you start to look sideways within the team, all of a sudden you start. I think sometimes people can be guilty of thinking like, what is enough? Like what is enough to actually kind of get on top? Do you know what I mean a little bit?
Yeah, I think you just want to. If you've got 1 Olympic gold medal, you want 2 because you compare yourself with the other riders. Is this what you mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Because like I see Jason, he's got 6 gold medals, and I think like I want to have 6 gold medals. But
yeah,
then
but that's
there's only so much.
But that's exactly the point, because we've got 6 between 3 of us, and then Jason Kenny could be sitting over there and he's got 6 by himself. You know what I mean? It's it's almost like an unachievable goal, I guess.
I think that's what
but we live in a bubble. Like we
do live in a bubble.
It's like just to get 1 Olympic gold medal is an amazing achievement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we lose perspective of that because we're in such a great environment, because we're part of such a something even bigger than us.
But I think it's like, before
it's just getting that perspective, but being a step away from it and saying,
before I won Olympic gold, I thought, if I win 1 Olympic gold, it's gonna change my life. Like, I'm gonna get sponsorship. My life is gonna change.
Yeah. And
then you win it, and actually nothing changes. And then maybe you think the same. If I win 2 Olympic gold medals, maybe that will make the difference. Maybe that's.
I've got so many good stories about why you thought your life was going to change when you came back.
Maybe keep that for another podcast.
Oh yeah, we will.
There is a lot of gold medalists out there now, and no longer will winning 1 make you. Stand out, especially in the sport of cycling.
You got like the women's hockey team or something like that. That's immediately like 28 gold medalists that you're all competing for different bits and pieces. And So then on that expectation point, as we always talk about this podcast, we're going to ask questions that we're interested in. So ironically, with London, I'm not especially interested in the gold with the team pursuit. As bad as it sounds, what I am really interested in from London is that bronze.
Yeah, the Omnium. Yeah.
Was that a disappointment, or were you happy with that? Because obviously you got the expectation there, just as you said. Like the media and everyone else that's chucking noise at you probably expected you to win gold and match what Trotty was doing at the time. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and in fact, I think when Jill Douglas put the mic in my face afterwards, she was like, "Oh, it's a bit bittersweet. You were on a gold medal for the first 2 or 3 events, or whatever it was, and all sort of went." It went to pot in the. We were looking all right for either a gold or silver until the scratch race. I think we finished like 16th place or something. They just didn't have the legs, and I think I lost a lap pretty much on my own with a couple of others, and that was always the way with me and the Omnium. I knew I'd win the kilo, I knew I'd win the flying lap, and I knew I'd be right at the sharp end in the pursuit, and we were. And like the difference between winning a gold or getting 5th for me and the Omnium was how well could I hang on in the points scratch, and I'd usually do a fairly average elimination race. So it came into day 2, and we had the scratch race, and I had an absolute shocker. And I don't know, I think we were down to 5th or 6th place or something before we got it back up there in the kilo at the end. So I didn't expect anything else. I was in a good place in London. I rode really well in the team pursuit, perhaps in my best form of my life. My home Olympics. 3 of my best mates stood on the top step of the podium. Home Olympics just 2 or 3 days earlier, and I'd been world champion in the Omnium, but not for a few years. In the new Omnium format that was rode at the Olympics, in my head, I never expected to win. I thought a medal would be good, and I was pretty happy. But you're right, that expectation to get gold was there. And when I was quizzed about it afterwards, people thought I'd be disappointed with bronze, but no, I was all right. I did my best, and I brought back a medal, and I was happy.
No, but I mean that's a nice line to give now. But like genuinely at
I was
the time,
happy. Yeah, honestly, I was happy. Yeah, after I cocked it up in the scratch race, I felt like my world had just sort of fallen apart, and I was like, wow, I had a real chance to win this. I had a real chance to win another gold here, an individual gold that I'll probably never see again. But you didn't really have time to sulk about it, because half an hour later you're up trying to do like the kilo of your life to kind of fight for a medal, and
which is an immediate win back off the trot.
Yeah, exactly. If you went from a gold medal status to a bronze medal in the last event, you might have felt differently, but I went from being completely out of the medals, and I fought my way back up to bronze, so it was kind of like, hey, yeah, but honestly, it was a good result for me. I wasn't expecting to win it personally, and I was happy with bronze. I'd been a lot happier with the gold, but I did my best.
Because the bit I'm interested with that now is that obviously incredibly successful team pursuer, but ever since then, it seems like you've kind of stepped away from the individual events a little bit.
The thing is, when the Omnium first came out, I don't know if you remember it, there was
everyone was giving it shit because they were like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, in the real early days, there was like a kilo, a flying lap, a 3K pursuit, which is a K shorter, and then almost like a track league style distance, was like a 30 lap scratch race, 50 lap points race. And I was like, wow, this looks good. I rode it for the first time.
For you.
Yeah, I rode it first time out. We won the world champs in it against Taylor Finney and one of the Aussie lads. And I was like, oh, here we go, this looks good. And then they changed it to be a bit more of an endurance rider sort of thing. They stretched out the points race and the scratch race and added an elimination race with another sort of endurance specialist sort of cup of tea. And then again, they've changed it once more, so that there's no short timed events, there's no kilo, no flying laps, so it's just not my thing anymore. Yeah. So, you know how I am. For the viewers or the listeners, I'm a bit like a middle distance runner. I ain't a sprinter, and I'm not designed to run a marathon either. It's like, I don't know, you'd be like an 800 metre, 400 metre runner on the track.
800 metres probably, yeah.
The one event I've got to go at now is team pursuit.
But do you miss that individual opportunity? Do you miss that? Or are you pretty happy being part of a team? Do you like that kind of shared responsibility?
I'd love it if it was like swimming and we had like 18 gold medals to go at. But it's like, you can only shoot where the goalposts are. And as it is now, I realistically have one medal that I can shoot at. That said, look at the plus side. If you came from a nation where, I'm great that I've got, 3 more world-class team pursuiters and we've got a genuine chance of another gold medal. So that's ridiculously fortunate, really. If you're the best team pursuiter in the world, but you came from, I don't know, a smaller country or a lesser cycling nation, let's say, on the track, what would you do then? Now, then it really would be frustrating. So,
Well, you just do what Kazakhstan does, and you either learned on the track for hours and hours and hours at a time, getting in the way of sprint efforts, basically.
That's probably where they're going wrong.
It's like, just go on the load. Anyway, so you said you had a bigger dip after London.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Well, how do you top that? You've done an individual event that you kind of know that you're probably not going to do again. You've won a gold medal in a world record time at your home Olympics. You cannot top that unless you like Geraint and you win the Tour de France.
So you took a little bit more of a dip after 2012, you said, than you did in 2008.
Yeah, I just think, by the time we got to Beijing, we already knew we were going to have our home Olympics coming, and we kind of knew that Beijing was great, and we absolutely loved every minute of it. But we knew London was going to be 10 times bigger and better. And if we could do the same thing in front of a home crowd, nothing had ever topped that. And whilst you're in that and you experience that moment, and that is, you guys know, there was an amazing atmosphere, not just in the velodrome, but outside. And Hindes, we had the privilege of sitting in, was it Mahikis or whatever they call it, with a big treasure trove of champagne, literally a queue of girls waiting to speak to us. Like you are, we laugh about it. We were almost like celebrity status.
Have you
for a week?
Have you seen the paparazzi photos of Phil?
I haven't. No.
If you're at home, Google like Philip Hines 2012, and then go for the first Daily Mail website you can find, and there's basically Phil standing with all these random women outside this club looking absolutely smashed. It was something like, oh yeah.
The thing is, I can't really remember that. I think the weird thing was that you went outside. I was out by myself. So random people came up and just like, oh, here's a flyer, hold this. And then suddenly they take photos of you, and then the next day they use you as advertising. So you get conned because you were hammered.
Yeah.
They put like a thing in your hand, and then they take a photo of you and then use you as advertising.
Oh, like ambush marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
But we had a good time.
Key point
afterwards.
is we had an amazing time.
I went out every night for 2 weeks straight, and I was an absolute
So
chat.
the funny thing is, in academy later, is you always get told, which I now know isn't true, but I'm glad I thought was true at the time. They'll say stuff like, Chris Hoy didn't drink for 2 years in the lead up to Rio.
Yeah.
In the lead up to London, sorry. But you guys kept it fairly social in the lead up to 2012, didn't you?
Well, I wasn't even expecting to ride at the games, but I was living with Liam Phillips at the time. I was like 9-10 months out of
We had a good
London,
time, didn't we?
And I remember Liam just dragged me along. Went to Hale Grill pretty much once a week.
That's the first time I met you, Phil,
Ed,
in Hale
Geraint
Grill.
Thomas, who else was there? Crampo was there a few times.
Yeah.
And we just like, had 2 bottles of wine with our dinner like every week. And
Kobe steak, 2
Yeah.
bottles of wine.
I was thinking, is this the life I have to live to win Olympic gold?
What were your first impressions when you met Phil? Given that was the first time you met him.
His English was even worse than it is now. So to be fair, it's mate, I'm always in awe of people that can speak different languages. But he didn't speak great English. He was very quiet. I could see him sort of try and get in on the action a few times, and
Yeah, we're recording.
I could sort of see him trying to get in on the action, sort of like trying to have banter with the lads and stuff. And it was good. And I don't know. We're good friends now, aren't we? I like to think.
Yeah. So there's 6 months following London. You still had that high, and then it dipped down, and then so what brought you back round to thinking, I'm going to go for Rio. I'm going to go a third time.
I just like my job. I enjoy my job. I like riding my bike. To be honest, I did lose enthusiasm for riding the track following London.
I guess the reason I'm asking because
I enjoyed riding the road.
That seemed like the reason why you came back in Beijing. But then earlier you said that you had a bigger dip after London.
Yep.
So it didn't take a different approach, basically.
I just enjoyed doing other things. Like I kind of thought, all right, on the track, we ain't ever going to reach those heights again, no matter what. We're never going to get that amount of exposure or coverage or home support in and out of the velodrome. But I enjoyed my bike. I enjoyed JLT with John Herity, an amazing road team. And yeah, I'm never going to win the Tour de France, and I never have done in the past, and that's for sure. But John was ace. Absolutely, he gave me everything and more I could possibly want. In terms of a race program, the teammates were amazing, and we had a ball. And I just enjoyed my time immensely with John Herity between 2012 and 2018, really.
But I guess the results followed though, because that was with JLT Condor, and you were ripping up every single crit tour series pretty much going.
Yeah. I mean, this fast forward a bit, but I officially won my first pro road race, or stage of a pro road race in the Sun Tour.
That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, the start of last year with JLT. One of my last big races I did with him, and that was meant. That was worth waiting for.
Yeah.
But I loved it with John. He gave me a great race program. I had a good time. We won a load of crits, the Nocturnes Tour Series, things like that. They aren't biggest races in the world, but to be honest, I just enjoyed it. It was a great pack of lads, and it really sort of like changed my focus for a couple of years before I had to zone back in on Rio.
And probably spending a bit of time on your trials bike as well, mountain biking.
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of the reason why I live out here. Just love riding my mountain bike, love riding my trials bike, and
within deepest Yorkshire,
yes.
Yeah.
Let me just have a drink of my Yorkshire tea with my flat cap on.
Have you got a Brownlee sponsorship with them as well?
No.
I think that kind of hunger for variety kind of came to a head after 2012, because you were a sprinter for a little while.
Yeah, I was lost, to be honest. That was Shane's idea. He was like, "Well, you've done everything in team pursuit now, and you've done your home Olympics, and it was a good idea of his. He's like, why don't you try something else? Give team sprint a little bash, just for a change."
Was that end of 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was that winter.
Yeah.
We rode the World Cup together in
we did, yeah.
Glasgow.
Got
a silver medal behind the German team.
I was going terribly.
yeah, but it was good fun, wasn't it? I just had a great time with
let
you
me
and Jace. It was mint.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Keane and I were shitting ourselves.
Yeah,
As soon as you showed up in Man 3, we were like, oh, maybe 2016. And then we're like, oh, Ed Clancy's now Man 3. And we're like, fuck.
Yeah, and for the first 2 months, I was great at it. And I remember, our times in training with Keane as well, we were pretty identical. But I think as you two sort of sharpened up towards the world, and I just ended up as a big like post-Olympic sort of mess. Yeah, you and Keane were a step up, and I remember when they fell off as well. Ian Dyer sat us down in track centre. I don't know if you can remember, and he said, "Ed,
I remember,
yeah, you're not going to take it to the Worlds." And I was like, yeah, it's all right. I kind of expected this, and and secretly I've kind of, whilst I've had an amazing time on the team sprint with the boys, I've realised over the last few months that if I want to ride team sprint and be a team sprinter, I'm going to have to get in the gym to do this properly. And getting in the gym to gain 5 kilos of muscle, I could have done, but I'd never ride a road race again, and I'd never ride team pursuit again. So I was kind of secretly hoping that I could ride team pursuit, team sprint, and keep on doing what I'm doing on the road. But it came after 2 months. I was like, I plateaued, and it was like, the only way I'm going to get better at this is getting bigger and stronger. And 5 kilo of muscle would be great for doing a 30-second effort on the track. Not so good for even a 1 hour road race or a team pursuit.
Because I remember it got worse for Keane and I shitting ourselves because your kilo times were pretty close to what we were able to bash out.
Yeah.
And as a sprinter, it's always a really negative comparison when you're like, oh, Ed Clancy, endurance leader, has just gone on and got within a tenth or like 2/10 or maybe even going quicker than you. It was quite early on with that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wrote it different to you guys. You guys had put a second half into me in the opening lap, and then
well, maybe not me, Keane might.
Yeah, and then I just keep chipping away at it, wouldn't I?
Bring it back in the last lap. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so.
But then you managed to, in the space of like 4 weeks or something, from not making the team sprint team, you actually slotted pretty quickly into the team pursuit team for the Words, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. We just jumped in the team pursuit as if like nothing had ever changed.
Yeah, and you were actually probably one of the strongest guys ever just doing sprint training.
Perhaps so. Yeah. I don't know what to say. I've been doing team pursuit a long time, and to be honest, I never really embraced the team sprint training. I never got in the gym like the other boys did. So, physically, I didn't really change shape or size. And
do you remember what you got at the Words of Minsk?
It's, silver, I think.
Yeah, silver medal.
Because there was a bit of a discussion at the time as to whether you actually needed to do gym to be a sprint leader. Because Matt Crampton, Lewis Lever weren't doing gym, so I can see why you kind of got on that bandwagon as well. But so I guess that point of saying that you managed to slot back into team pursuit and be one of the strongest riders leads us to quite an interesting, geeky, physiological point when it comes to track sprinting as well, where do you work in endurance or do you work at making the start easier so you can get on? So I guess when it came to 2013 Minsk Worlds, that was an example of where you'd done so much work on the track with getting off the line and things like that.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And
is that the bit that came easier?
Yeah, it did. I remember like 2 or 3, even 3 kilometers into the race, I was like, wow, I feel great. And the start's barely touched me. And then it was like a light switch. It was like, poof, here comes a big load of lactic acid. 2 laps to go. You can't pedal. But it absolutely. I think team pursuit it's an amazing event, honestly. I'm going to be biased, but it's that combination of sort of sprint and endurance. And it was very much like that. The start was no problem whatsoever. And then it just caught up with me right at the end.
So let's say after. So I don't know. I'm going to take this slightly different than you have. So I'd say after 2008, from what you've said now, it was pure love for riding that bike. It was getting back on, and that's what kept you going. But maybe after 2012, what actually kept you going was that variety, and that opportunity to do something different.
Yeah, perhaps right, Cal. I didn't enjoy the track at the time. That's for sure. I was struggling in British cycling. I struggled in British cycling, in 2012, 2013, 2014, and what kept me going was, like you said, Phil, just riding around on a mountain bike, playing trials bikes, and I absolutely loved John Herity and JLT on the road.
You took a month away from British cycling, a few months away, and you just didn't come in, didn't you? I think
it was learned about
we were talking about, and you just didn't come in for a month, and that really helped you. This when you were riding your bike.
Yeah, you know what? This is an example of when I should have listened to someone. Dave Brailsford said to me in Celtic Manor in 2008, he said, whatever happens in Beijing, take a year off the track. Just go away, do a bit of road racing, just,
That's because he wanted to sign you up to his team that was about to
No, he really didn't. No, he didn't. He wanted me to go away, clear your head, start afresh, and come back in 2010 Worlds, have a clear year off, and then go again. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then I didn't do it. And then 2012 happened, and I was like, yeah. He said the same thing again. He was like, make sure you go away, have a year off, like really clear your head this time, because, you could be doing this for another 8 years yet. So go away, have a year off. And I was like, yeah. Didn't do it. So after Rio, made sure I did, and I've never enjoyed Olympic cycle so much.
But I think that's something you don't necessarily, with Dave B leaving, that's actually quite interesting, because people often say to you, like especially Luther, ex-psychologist, would say, most people go away to the Olympics and come back disappointed. And it's fine because they've still got that goal.
Yeah.
They're going to go to the next games. They're going to go and try and do it again and try and do better. But it almost seems like at that point, Dave B was preparing you for success. And that's what people often say to me is like, were you ever prepared for success? And for me, I guess the answer is no. But it sounds like in a way that Dave B at that point already had the kind of foresight to basically say to you, take a year off and it will be all right.
Just sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? How preparing for success? It's just nuts, isn't it?
It does. It sounds nuts, but I think a lot of people struggle with it because it's that thing. It's that loss. Like once you've got that medal around your neck, what do you do?
Yeah. You need to reset. Like see where you're at. See if you still got passion for it. Reevaluate your life, haven't you? So perhaps he was, yeah. He never told me that, but it sounds very much like something he'd have done, yeah.
You gave me that same advice. Take a year off the track.
Yeah,
Do something different.
I really think it's helped me this time,
Yeah.
honestly. Just taking like a clear 12 months off, like even more than that. It was 14, 15 months away, and I think I came back whatever it was, like 16 months' time for a World Cup in Manchester.
Yeah.
Nice, easy start, and it made such a big difference. I'm so much more keen to ride the track these days.
Yeah. Because I went back straight after the London Olympics, had 2 weeks off.
Yeah,
Straight back in.
Because they thought you were living the champagne lifestyle.
Yeah. And then it took me like 2 years, really. That's near the time in Chorlton when I accidentally put the wrong weight on my squat rack. This moment, like lifting 170k instead of 130k, this really gave me like the motivation to like work towards something, towards a goal.
To explain that for people that are listening, basically Phil didn't do his maths correctly when he was lining up for a squat, and suddenly realised he could squat 20k more.
Yeah,
just overnight.
But you know, this weird tiny.
Our gym coach was so disappointed.
But this
he was
weird
like,
tiny
you've
mistake.
been fucking me around for the last 2 years.
Mate,
and
I'm
it turns out you
disappointed,
had this ability in you inside the whole time.
Idiot.
But this weird tiny mistake gave me like the drive and go to work towards something, and just saved my Rio career.
You make a good point though,
Well
because
done.
I think that's something that affects a few of the sprinters, because they're always tied into that Manchester lifestyle. Because we have a centralised programme. We can't go and train at Glasgow. We can't go and train at Newport or anything like that. Like, you know, maybe like the swimmers can, or especially if you're in like professional sport, like, you know, football or rugby, you can just change clubs to get a bit of variety. But in cycling, you have to be a bit more creative, I guess.
Yeah, like the thing is, somebody mentioned it in one of the big meetings we had in British Cycling. Like the thing is, when you're riding for an Olympic team, you've got no other option. You've got to get on and make the best of what you got. Like, I can't go ride for the Australians or the French or the Italians or whatever in team pursuit. You can't. I'm British. I ride for the Great Britain cycling team, right? If you're not having a good time in your road team, you can go wherever you want. There are hundreds of teams out there.
I was really hoping that I'd get some dodgy offer from Qatar after the 2016 games, because they sign up all kinds of athletes and
Oh,
say,
is that right? Yeah.
you're Qatari now. I'd be like, oh, perfect, that'll be nice.
Great. I never thought about that option, but yeah, the thing is, you've got to make the most of it, and that can be difficult. Yeah, you're right. Everyone's in Manchester. There's not really any option on that, but people still got a choice. You can be a cyclist or you can go do something else. So I think that's important to remember. A lot of things are choices, aren't they?
Yeah.
Should we fast forward to 2015 when
I'd love to.
you actually had a pretty bad back injury from picking up a suitcase?
Yeah, so we did you had that slump we were talking about post 2012, and like Heiko came in, and he was different, but he was kind of a breath of fresh air, to be honest. And things were starting to go really well, and I'd start to found like the old enthusiasm, the old form, and you know, I was pretty happy with life at that point in time. We just hacked through an altitude camp and then gone straight to the Tour of Britain. I slapped off on day 2. That may or may not have been something to do with the disc that prolapsed on the last day. On the last day, I picked up the suitcase. I had nothing in it other than a T-shirt and a wash bag, because I was overnighting in London after seeing a sponsor. And I felt something go in my back and like a pain down my leg. Didn't really think anything of it. Went to see the sponsors, had a couple of beers, went to bed. Woke up in the middle of the night with pretty awful sort of... It's like, you couldn't pinpoint it. It was sort of like in your leg and down your back at the same time, but it was painful enough to keep me awake for the rest of the night. Anyway, I got on the train the next day and I couldn't sit down, so I stood up the whole train journey. And I got home, and I'd been on the road for 3 or 4 weeks with the altitude camp and Tour of Britain. So instead of going to see the physio, I was just sat in the man cave and played the PlayStation for 4 days. And then and then I rang Phil Burt and said, Phil, I've got like a pain in my back and my leg that's just not really going away. Anyway, so it was really hard to sit down, like, get any sort of like bend in your leg. Apparently that's a classic sign of prolapsed disc.
Yeah,
So
I mean, like, as a sprinter, that's an emergency situation pretty much. Usually.
Yeah, and it was unusually painful, I got to say. But anyway, I went in to see Phil Burt, lied down on the physio table. He tried lifting my right leg off the table to get some angle in my leg. I literally jumped off it with pain. I was like, I just can't do that right now, Phil. And he said, mate, we need to get you in for a scan, because that looks like a prolapsed disc. And I was like, all right, great. Let's get it sorted out then. And I didn't realise, what this was about to, the next few months had in store for me. Because usually it's like you go in there, you got a little knee niggle or whatever, like, and it's usually cleared up in a couple of weeks. I've never had a big injury before, so I was like, yeah, great, let's get a scan and let's get it sorted out and let's get back on it. As it happened, that was the start of, I didn't ride a bike for 3 months. I was in an operation on the we tried managing it without surgery for a long time. So you have an injection in there to kind of reduce the inflammation and get rid of the pain, and yeah, great. You have an injection, and 2 days later you could walk around and ride your bike like a normal person. But I think that was probably part of the problem, because that's exactly what I did. And at that point in time, the Olympics was 10 months away or something. So I was like, wow, I need to get on this. Like, I want to get to the altitude camp with the boys and crack on. So we tried to manage it with the anti-inflammatories and crack on. But the things just got worse and worse. And I guess it's like a donut, isn't it? The discs are like a little donut, and when they burst, all the jam comes out the donut, and it presses on your nerves and your back, which causes the problems. It's all about the symptoms, really. And the symptoms got so bad that I couldn't lie down, I couldn't walk without just being in constant pain all the time. And then when it gets really bad, so you lose the nerves have two functions, like the sensory stuff, like the hot and cold feeling, pins and needles, stuff like that. And at the core of the muscle is does the motor function, right? So when you get the sensory stuff, it's no biggie. The nerve's got some pressure on it. Your leg's got pins and needles in it 24/7, whatever, you get on with it. But when you get foot drop, so you basically lose all power in your calf. I couldn't walk. It was just like limping along, like on my heel. I couldn't walk on it.
Really?
And then when it gets to that point, it's like, wow, we need surgery, because if you don't get the pressure off the nerve at that point, you're in danger of, worst case scenario is kind of like losing function in that leg completely.
Because I think that's what people don't understand sometimes. Because a quite common conversation you have with people in the street or at events or whatever, it'd be like, "Oh, what's your worst injury?" And I'll say something like, my worst injury is probably any kind of back injury, but like my most impressive one is probably snapping my collarbone in half. But what people don't understand is like, I take a collarbone injury over a back injury any day of the week.
Yeah.
Because you can just get that plated and then crack on. But a back injury is actually debilitating.
It was so bad. You see those stairs behind you there? Like the amount of times I crawled down them. And then like went down them on my bum like a toddler in the morning. I must have done that for 3 months. It was just ridiculous. And
I mean, I've had my own experiences, but Cian's had his fair share of back injuries as well, and I've had to actually like dress him in the mornings because he can't do it himself.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? Yeah, you're 30 years old. You're Olympic gold medalist going for another gold medal, and you can't put your sock on in the morning. It's ridiculous. Yeah, and
I remember the kind of managing it got to pretty extreme lengths at British Cycling, because I remember they'd get the guy. Big Pete, who does the airport transfers for us. Yeah. He's a guy who runs this little minibus company in Manchester, he'd basically just kind of he'd give you lifts back and forward to the airport and all that kind of stuff. But he ended up basically just being your personal chauffeur because you couldn't drive. Exactly,
I couldn't drive. I couldn't sit down. So I used to lie in the back seats of his minibus. He'd pick me up here and take me into Manchester's 45-minute drive 3 times a week. I could barely stand, and I couldn't ride a bike because I couldn't bend over. So for training, this is 9 months out of the Olympics now, 8 months potentially. I used to walk to try and get my heart rate up. I used to lie on the floor in my kitchen, and then when I had the energy, I'd sort of roll over, get myself on my feet, and go walk around a reservoir for an hour. It was dark times. It was dark times getting to that place, but I gotta say, I quite enjoyed the comeback, because like every day you could see progress. Because as you guys know, when you get right to the top and you're forming, hitting your PBs never happens really, does it? You might hit one PB once a year in a certain distance or whatever. If you get it right, that'll be on the big day once every 4 years. But when you're coming from a back operation, and day 3 is like walking down the post box, which is 50 meters down the road.
It's progress again.
Yeah, and then day 5 you can walk 35 minutes, and then after 2 weeks you can walk around the local reservoir, which is 52 minutes or whatever, and it's like, here we go. And then all of a sudden, we had massive progress. But at the same time, we also had that cloud of like the Olympics over. I
remember you caught me a few times where you said, "Phil, I think my career's over. I think I'm not going to make it."
Yeah, I suffered, like, even in like the holding camp in Celtic Manor. We were just managing the pain. Really, we couldn't. My training wasn't limited by my legs anymore. It was limited by my back, which was weird. Yeah. I couldn't train to my full potential. It didn't matter how much you wanted it. You couldn't just go to your legs couldn't go anymore. You'd go to your back gave out.
And I think that's difficult for people to understand at home, is the difference between sports medicine and normal medicine. Because normal medicine, you just be signed off work for a couple of years, probably off the back of that kind of thing. But sports medicine, it's all about, the Olympic date isn't going to change, and you have to make it.
Yeah, well, you do, yeah.
So
I'm just glad like a lot of people lied to me at that point in time. I'm glad they did, because
they lied to you.
They lied to me. Dr. Freeman, Phil Burt, and Hannah were the three people that pretty much saved my career. And they got me to the start line in Rio. But
well, lied to you in what way? Like, as in,
they
you're
said,
going to make it?
They said you can make it, you can do it, Ed.
Well, it wasn't a lie then.
Yeah, but they didn't believe it. They were lying to me. They were saying that to make me feel good. Yeah.
So
what they were really thinking is this guy's got no chance. Like,
at what month did you have your back surgery?
It was the 2nd of December, 2015, yeah.
Because then you actually made it to the World Championships, which was in...
March-ish.
March,
yeah. I mean, as you know, I think British cycling's got this. I like it. They want the sort of the Olympic team to ride the World Championships beforehand, and the British cycling will put the Olympics above everything else. And I think that they were in a situation where they were second best to the Aussies anyway. They didn't really have anything to lose by putting me in the final, and I was kind of like wow, if Ed does, a good ride here, maybe they can turn him around. Maybe Ed can bring something to the team. As it happened, I was crap and we lost.
So, Heiko had a big part in that World Championships. So, what impact did he have on the team? Because again, to explain to people, I guess I always think of Heiko as a little bit of like a Jose Mourinho in football. Yeah, like he'd left or been sacked from British cycling 2 times before he came back a 3rd time. Yeah, but he's a guy who really gets the riders behind him for the first couple of years, and he really gets them going, gives them what they want. Kind of, he's very much so more of an artist than he is a scientist. Yeah. So did that, and you're talking about altitude camps and stuff, which you don't do anymore. Like, he came in with a recipe and you guys followed it to the letter. Yeah. Did that help?
Yeah, exactly that. He came in with his way, his tried and tested way that he's done for a long, long, long time, and he got hold of a good group of riders and applied his tried and tested methods, and it got us to a good place, to be fair, and a good enough place to win the Olympics. Only just, but we won the Olympics. I think that the problem was after that is like, we knew the Aussies are going places. We knew for a long time. Like, I've had the eye on the Aussie youngsters and juniors for a while, and I knew this amazing crop of riders was going to take things to new levels. And not just myself, but I think a few of us in the building knew that Heiko wasn't going to be that guy potentially, because he was going to use the same tried and tested methods again, and we'd get the same result again, and that'd be good enough for perhaps a silver or bronze next time out. So that's sport, isn't it? You change things and you try and make things better. And I think already we've done a better ride than we've ever done in a non-Olympic year with Coach Dyer at the reins.
Obviously, Heiko came into the Olympic in the lead up to Rio. Actually, one of sorry, Ed's cat's trying to get in through the door here. Mr. Boris is trying to get in.
He's pouring at the window.
Yeah, you love it. Yeah, I remember one of the funniest stories about Heiko I ever heard, because he had left. He's now left British cycling 3 times, but he used to be like one of the bosses in there. And when he came back for his 3rd time, as in the most recent time, I think he said to someone last time, he was like, "Hey, I fired you last time."
Well, a rider or a member of staff?
A member of staff. Yeah, I won't name, but it was quite funny.
I don't know. What can I say? Phil, can you relate to anything like that?
I've never heard of that before.
He's a good character, though.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's got a Heiko impression and they go, Bradley Wiggins' ones is the best. Yeah, for sure. You must stick to the trainings, Mark.
Yeah. He was a character, I'll give him that. Yeah.
So yeah, let's wind up Rio then. You went again and it went well.
Rio, yes. Yeah, it was difficult. It was my most difficult one, with the back injury, and then, we had like personal stuff going on beforehand, and even the race itself on the big day.
Can we talk about the personal stuff a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're referring to there.
So, oh man, so we touched it earlier on in the...
You've only told me like a few months ago.
Yeah, wow, man. As you know, you're one of my best mates, and I don't shout of... It is my dad. We mentioned him earlier in the podcast.
Your actual dad?
My biological father, yeah. We met him for the first time when I was 31 years old, so I wouldn't have seen him for 23 years. We literally just riding along on my bike, training, and I recognised this Land Rover because I know where he lives, the same place we lived when we were a kid, and he pulled up and it was weird. Like, Yeah, so
You said you knew that Land Rover was his, though. There was like a bit of a sinking feeling almost.
Yeah, like I can't describe. Like you know what's happening. I just kept riding and just kind of pretended it didn't happen. I was dead happy with a little bubble ride on my bike. My back was getting better, and you look like at that point in time, probably very soon around then, I'd been announced that I was actually going to ride in Rio because the team isn't selected until a couple of months before. And yeah, that was a strange one. So I met my dad for the first time in 23 years. I don't know what I was expecting, but I don't know. He said he wanted to meet again. He said he wanted to sort of make up for like lost time, and to be frank, I wasn't that keen on it.
Well, it's a difficult position for like an athlete, I guess, because I remember listening to. This is a bit off topic, but I watched the Arnie Schwarzenegger documentary, and obviously he moved to the States and he was getting ready for Mr. Olympia, and they said something like, "There's been a death in the family." It was either his mum or his dad, and he basically just ignored it because he had Mr. Olympia coming up. So was it that kind of same thing again? It's like you know, sorry, Dad, I'm well again. I'm better than I've ever been. Like maybe we could touch on this afterwards, but I've got the Olympics to get to and to ride.
To be honest, I entertained him. I met with him. I sort of like gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I was like, all right, let's hear his side of the story, and which wasn't easy to do.
Before the games.
Yeah, before the games, like literally a couple of days later. I wasn't going to. It was my girlfriend at the time sort of talked me around and said, everyone's got their side of the story. Like just hear him out, and I don't know. I went to see him, and it was kind of difficult. You kind of you think that there'd be some sort of weird innate bond. You know what I mean? With your blood or your biological father or whatever, like some sort of father-son bond. But it was just like speaking to an old dude that you've never met.
Do you feel like you closed the chapter or made peace with it now?
No,
because
it's
an interesting thing.
It. Like I sat there with a weird, like this is your bloodline, your dad, but it's like you've got nothing in common anymore. He's just like an old guy you've met. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Kevin's my dad. He's the one that's like I enjoy the same thing. I've got things in common with him.
He's your role model.
Yes, he's like a father. You know what I mean? He fathered me and my brother. It was my mum that sort of like, there's another sort of hero in your life. A single mother that looked after two scallywags on her own. When she started with no job. It's difficult. And when you sit down with your biological father and he said, I didn't want kids. Your mum wanted kids. It's like, well, you didn't want kids. Why do you want to see me now?
Yeah.
He didn't want me.
Must be tough.
It isn't it. You know what I mean? Like you can sit there and you can feel like a victim, but it's not bad, is it? You know what I mean? I've been so fortunate in so many ways, but that was tough. I was just recovering from a back injury. Things are just going about right, and then you sort of walk into that sort of. It feels like you've just been hit by a wall, to be honest.
But the tough bit is that you have no control over it though, because he just appered.
Yeah, he just appeared, but I mean.
It wasn't like you went out and sought him.
He just appeared. I mean, like he didn't. He must know what he knew I was, and he knew what I'd been up to. He knew the things I'd done on a bike, and he knew what job I had. For sure, if he wanted to track me down in the last 23 years, he could have done. He chose not to. I could have tracked him. I could have tracked him down. I chose not to. I don't know if that's the right or wrong thing to do, and I don't blame him for it. The thing is, when I was younger, I kind of I hated him for it. I'd hate him for the things he did, and. But I don't anymore. Like I genuinely want the best for him. Like 100%. I don't like the idea of him sort of suffering, and I don't like the idea of him sort of like wanting to be part of me or my life, and sort of me depriving him of that. I don't like that idea. But at the same time, I want to look after my own interests now and again. And right now, I love my job. I love my mates. I'm happy.
Do you think there's something in the mindset of an athlete which is, I don't know, sometimes aided a little bit by, having a little bit of a rocky road in childhood, I guess. Because the most famous one is Lance Armstrong, I guess. Like we'll take the drugs out of it for now, but like he always had massive issues with his dad as well. I certainly was drawn to cycling because it was an escape from kind of my home situation. I guess a little bit. Not that it was bad, but it was just. when you were that cycling, you could latch on to people like, for you, Lord Ellingworth, or for me it was like Alistair Watson or Marco Libitzzi and stuff like that, and you could almost like start afresh. It was a total escape, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. There is a lot of not just in sport as well. There's a lot of like success or whatever you want to call it, stories. And maybe people feel like they want to prove themselves, or maybe people feel like they don't want to end up a certain way, or I don't know. Maybe it just gives you a bit more fire in your belly. I think perhaps the best way to think about it is just to think that it's nothing special. Like, and I think that's important in general. It's important neither to feel like someone special, like, oh wow, look at me, I'm Olympic gold medalist, I'm special, or to feel like a victim on the other end of the spectrum. And I think it's kind of easy if you're not in a good place to try and flick between the two, which is ridiculous. We're just like a normal person like everybody else. 1 billion people have divorced, families, and people go through an awful lot more shit than I did when I was a kid. Of course, I saw things that you wouldn't see ideally, and there was times where it wasn't ideal, but I had great times as well, and I had a great moral rodel later in life.
Do you think that shaped you going forward a little bit though, because you were kind of like, it's a difficult thing to kind of say, but there's almost like that strength through adversity and that strength through setback, I guess. Like, whatever's going to be thrown at you on the bike is probably not going to be much in comparison to ending up in the back of a car and being driven off and changing schools and stuff when you're 6 years old. Like that's quite a big thing to go through. Do you think it made you stronger as an athlete, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to? Did you ever feel like you could deal with adversity better?
I honestly don't know. I think it probably gives you fire, like, when you're younger and you feel like you want to set out and prove a point and be the best you can be. It makes you tougher, perhaps, yeah. Perhaps it does.
I'd say it makes or breaks you a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm genuinely not sure.
It's whether you decide to be a victim or you decide to
go and fight it. But I don't know. The thing I find most stabilizes me when I ever think either of the thoughts is I'm just a person like anybody else, and like I genuinely feel that like no matter who you are, where you're from, or what you do, like every human's got equal value, and I guess it's what some psychologists call like your sort of values and your foundation stones, and what you really believe in is perhaps the most settling things in life. Every human is of equal value.
I was talking to you about values the other day, and you laughed me out of the room.
Life is unfair, Phil. Go on, deny that.
Because you wanted to tattoo. There was an oyster bar actually.
Yeah, I thought I'd get my values tattooed on me.
Yeah, you wanted to get your values tattooed on you.
Yeah.
Go on, Cal. Tell us them.
And that was.
Tell us them. Well,
it's more of a deeper meaning, which I actually didn't know about, and Callum told me about it.
Oh, so you're backtracking now?
I was actually.
It's okay. I'm just screwing with you. Don't
worry.
Yeah. Mine are like kind of like you've got to work hard. I think that's a big thing of me, and I think that's my family split up as well, and there's my mum. Quite often she'd have her laptop on her lap and have my brother under one arm and myself under the other, and you always got. I think that was something that was instilled in me, was that nothing comes for free. You have to work for it. And I think that's something that myself and my brother have carried through my life. So I think that's one of them as well. Like kind of respect everyone, I guess, a little bit. It's kind of like what you're saying a little bit. It's about, you don't know everyone's journey. You don't know everyone's story. Try and give them the benefit of the doubt, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the place where you've landed it, which is like you want the best for your biological dad. You want the best for yourself. But that's the best way to go forward, I guess.
I think so. It's just difficult when you want different things, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the answer is. Send your messages to philhines@britishcycling.co.uk.
You've got the answers, haven't you? You're a bit of an oracle figure in the team.
Am I?
Yeah, like sometimes you'll say this will happen, and then like a year, it's so annoying.
But
then like a year after, it will happen.
I have a gut feeling. Sometimes I just know.
Like Phil for often, like you can't get him to concentrate on a conversation. Like if you're talking about anything else besides himself, he just completely zones out. But then occasionally he'll just come out with this bit of wisdom, and he'll be like, "Yeah."
I think he. You think
did he
more
say
than
to
you
you?
give yourself credit for, don't you?
Well, like he said to you, like you'll go to the Olympics and you'll win gold, and you'll be like, fuck off, Phil. What are you on about?"
Yeah, he does say things now and again. The thing is with Phil is 98% abuse, and then when he does say something nice or something positive about you, it's like, yeah.
Does he
mean
it?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm only nasty to you because I like you guys.
Oh, cheers, Phil. It's good to know, yeah. But yeah, so I had tough times approaching Rio, to summarise all that. But you know what? The race itself was grim, and I had literally had food poisoning 3 days before. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah?
And,
remember
I was
that.
I was in that building we were in.
Yeah.
In the building, I was on like the isolation room on the top floor on my
Yeah.
own.
I didn't know you got isolated.
Oh mate, I was so unhappy. It was like 2 days before Rio, and I was like, "Yeah, I've made it here. I'm going well." And it's like, "Oh god, we got food poisoning at the last minute," and I was like,
You had a good power to weight ratio then.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was good enough, but only just. We actually rode okay. My legs were okay by the day, but it was just nervous times. My back was giving me grief and food poisoning.
Because the Aussies were leading until only 2 laps to go, really? It was so close, wasn't it?
Yeah. Classic Aussies. They don't know when they beat, do they? And
Yeah.
they went out like a bat out of hell. Got a good head start on us, and I think they just. I don't think they realised how good they were until they started setting off at 350 pace and faster, and they blew. But man,
Yeah, and then you won it, and then literally Ed came down the ramp, and it was the first time I saw Ed crying, and then I knew how much it meant to him. Do you remember that?
it was, like I said, there's been man. It was tough. Like, yeah.
This is a bit of a stupid question, and I feel like journalists ask it a lot. But like, did that one in a way kind of mean the most to you because it was the hardest
100%.
fought?
Yeah, no doubt. I've always said that. Like, when everyone, it is a journal question. A million journalists have,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
maybe 100 have asked me that. But it's a
million,
good question. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You're
maybe,
popular.
maybe 10. Now I think about it. Yeah, like, for Rio, for sure, Rio was meant the most. And wow, man, at least. When we did Beijing, you felt like you'd won something, and when you did it in London, you kind of felt like I'd done something incredible in front of your home crowd. It was a great experience, but when I walked down that ramp in Rio, man, I felt like a champion. I just felt, wow, we've kind of defied the odds here, and we've done it. And like, if I don't achieve anything else on a bike, I'm gonna remember this. And like, wow. Yeah,
there's something quite similar about that from people of your era, I guess, because Jason Kenny also said that Rio kind of meant the most to him. Like, was it?
Yeah.
Like, was it a little bit? So obviously, with you, it was your back injury and your dad coming back into your life and all that kind of turmoil. But then there was also so much shit going on as well when it came to Shane leaving, the equipment not being ready and all that kind of stuff. Did it feel like that games in so many other ways? Because again, another journalist question would be, when's it going to end?
I almost felt like
when's GB's run at the Olympic Games going to end?
Yeah, I almost felt like people were looking for it. You know what I mean? They wanted us to fail in Rio. Not everyone, but I felt
it's a bit of a Team Sky thing, isn't it? You build them up and then you want to shoot them down.
Yeah, and I felt like we were in that point, and not everyone, not every journalist as well. In fact, the vast majority are still on our side.
Apart from the French and the Aussies.
But there was that feeling that people wanted to see us fall and fail, and going back to the Jason thing, like it was probably quite a common theme with almost all of us that did the previous Olympics and then Rio. We'd been at the top, we'd dominated pretty much our home Olympics as a team. We'd had the fall, and then there was the Sutton stories and all that, and like they said, like everything felt a bit last minute and sort of bodged together, and we kind of knew that even if we did the same thing results wise, it wouldn't be quite the same. And I felt like the some of the press turned their back on us and were looking for bad stories rather than looking for good stories. We always knew it would happen, but that was when it happened, and that was new, so that was difficult as well. But yeah, solid. When we won, it felt just as good. No, it didn't. It felt better.
I remember when I was watching that race. And did you pull out early, or were you in it until the end?
I was in the end, I think.
Okay, yeah. So you're watching it, and you see Dool get dropped off the back.
Yeah.
And in Team Pursuit, it's the time's taken off the third rider, so you can lose one through mechanical, or if they want to pull out, whatever. But I remember watching it, and because it was so tight as well, I just remember watching Dool and screaming at the TV.
That was probably the best race I've ever watched, like a Team Pursuit race.
Because when someone gets dropped out of a Team Pursuit team, it's like no man's land, and you think they're just never going to get back on terms. And not that he did, but like every bit of you wanted him to just get over that line and make it, I guess. Which you probably only realised after you watched it afterwards, I guess.
Brad was on the front, and for Team Pursuit, as you know, like we have a real sort of like sorted strategy. We work out who can do what turns and from what starting positions and what lap schedule, and give or take half a lap. That's what we'll do on race day, unless there's an absolute disaster. Our strategy on race day went to pot. You know what I mean? The Aussies were flying. We were absolutely we tried to match them somewhat so they wouldn't get in our slipstream. We were way up on world record pace. However, that meant that our first turns were shorter than they should have been. Our second turns were shorter than I should have been. We were seeing four turns on the front when we'd planned for a 2.5 turn strategy, let's say. It was just ridiculous. We were just throwing in half laps left, right and centre, and we lost Berkey after his third turn maybe, and I got stung with a little fourth turn, which you don't schedule for, you don't expect. When we were crawling around that last kilometre, it was just, and I had no idea that Duel was, but Duel basically changed for 4 riders. He didn't know Berkey had gone, I assume. I probably haven't even spoken to him about it.
I mean, that's what you'll say.
Yeah. And I just knew that Brad was on the front, winding it on and on and on. The last lap and 3/4 to go. And, I guess that's when a roadman's legs save you. In the last 2 laps or so, Brad was still good. And he was the only one that hadn't completely died. He's never going to be the fastest off the mark. But, Brad possibly saved his best team pursuit ride till his last, and he went out in style.
Well, if you haven't seen it, I'd encourage you to go on YouTube and have a little look, because even now that you know what happens, you'll still have your kind of you'll be sitting beside yourself watching Duel off the back and hoping that he just gets over that line to finish it. So now let's look at Tokyo, I guess. So and again, this is a cycle which has taken a different turn compared to the ones previously. So I think one of the biggest things for me that have been interesting is that you've ended up with, maybe if you put you guys in the top 3, you've ended up with a second top 5 British team, and that top 5 British team is KGF. Again, they've got a really good documentary. They're an amateur team who have basically run by more or less by a dynamicist, Dan Bingham, and they've basically kind of tried to beat GB at their own game, I guess, which is invest in the kit, invest in the physiology, and basically just try and overcome every problem and win as a team. Have you found the influence of having a world-class amateur team kind of chomping at your heels a kind of plus or minus in the lead up to the cycle?
I think at the moment it's neither a plus or a minus, and I don't think it's going to make any difference in my lifetime as a cyclist, but I think it's going to be a big plus for GB post 2020. To be completely open and honest, I've been banging on about the aero game, and now we need to take it more seriously in non-Olympic cycles probably for a decade now. Yeah,
it's the Ed Clancy special. If you talk to Ed about skin suits, you'll be sitting down for half an hour after that.
We get good kit for the games. We get good kit for the non-Olympic years, but I don't think people
say, like, you get great kit for the games and you get good kit for Worlds.
That's better. Sorry, we and I just think we can. It's not my call, is it? From a rider's point of view, I don't think you'd get anyone that was. You just want to win everything.
Yeah,
I want to win everything, and of course I want to win the Olympics more than anything else. And I guess it's part of a strategy, and there's budget, and there's thought behind it all. But if I had my way, we'd embrace, and it's not just the kit, it's positional stuff as well, and that makes a big difference. And for a long time I've been saying, we need to embrace this, we need to look at this more carefully, we need more time in the wind tunnel, and we need more track testing time. We're doing it now, but I don't think we're going to get full buy-in from everyone till after 2020, but I think it will happen. I think a lot of that is thanks to KGF. Do you think that agility is something that was not so much lacking now in the team, but maybe was lacking in the team, where, in 2008 it was really quite a small team. Yeah, absolutely.
And if you piped up and said we need to be looking at position, that'd be taken really seriously. But now British Cycling's a team with 150 riders, and it's essentially a corporate machine.
That's exactly it.
Is it harder to, and KGF, when I say they're beating us at our own game, they've got that agility, that small team, and if someone pipes up and says, I think there's a gain in position, they can adapt to that really quickly. Do you think that's where we've been losing out a little bit in the last couple of years?
Yeah, if I can, in 2008, let's imagine British Cycling like a London taxi. It can do a U-turn like on a 50 pence piece. It can just be like, oh, yep, this isn't the right decision. Let's go with that. Crack on some lock, bang, it's done a bouncer in no time at all. Right now, it's like it is like an oil tanker. You know what I mean? It'll take it an awful long time to sort of like do a U-turn on something, and again, we'd rather be in this place. We'd rather be a huge, great, successful organisation with hundreds of members of staff. So it is a good thing overall. But I totally agree that we can't just do quick U-turns on things now.
But I guess from like a human perspective, you're probably, I see it with Jason as well, so you're not alone in this, but there's probably a little bit of a harking back to the old days where it's like, if I said I wanted to change something, I could change it.
Yeah, but like I said, it's good that we're in this position, I guess. But of course, there's you'd like to see something, you just click your fingers and magic to happen. But I get it, it's bigger than me and the team pursuit, and it's bigger than the track program. It's British cycling, and it's about membership and getting people on bikes and so on. And you can't just do a quick U-turn on a commercial contract or whatever it is that's holding us back. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. So I want to delve into that a little bit deeper. So after the ride at the most recent World Championships, you basically, if I'm going to summarise here, you said, you guys rode pretty well, a little bit shy of what you did in Rio, so it's a really good performance, obviously. But you kind of really put emphasis on having that Olympic package and that things will be ready for Tokyo. Yeah. And I know that some people have maybe taken that the wrong way slightly. Would you like to kind of clarify that a little bit more as to what you mean by that?
Yeah, just everything. New bikes, new kit, skin suits, helmets, shoes, socks. But outside of that, I think the bigger gains are going to come from holding camps, more nutritional help, more training camps, possibly less road racing and distractions, no commercial stuff. Neither been pushed by British Cycling are very good. They barely sort of force it upon us from their point. The team pursuit
is always the worst at doing the commercial obligations. It always gets landed on the spinners because we're always in Manchester.
It's because we're always training, unlike you guys.
Oh,
but just really focusing in on that one event, and you do get more support from every which way. In Olympic year, they'll unleash the latest sports science and nutritional ideas and everything, and there'll be more training camps out in Portugal or wherever we choose to do them. And when you've got less I think that, to be honest, when you get to my age, I think what makes the difference is it's doing less. It's doing the same thing you've done before and getting rid of all the noise in your life.
You've got an interesting nutrition approach as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like, you were actually...
the old school approach.
You were actually eating pretty healthy for a while.
Yeah.
And it didn't work for you, or you think it didn't work for you.
Well, you got the meals delivered to your house and everything.
Yeah, I was still doing that, yeah. I hate cooking and I hate cleaning.
Yeah.
I like to have a clean house, a clean kitchen, but I hate cooking and cleaning.
And then you suddenly changed to having...
I know, we still eat healthy, but it's just, if you look at my nutrition on the bike, I think drinking Coca-Cola and eating what you want, it works.
Can I say what you have on race day?
Yeah, almost everyone knows that. I'm quite happy to have a few bottles of Coca-Cola. Yeah.
Well, a few liters of Coca-Cola.
yeah.
Which I guess the nutritionists aren't especially happy about. But I think that's almost something that Jason's brought into it as well. Because I think if you ask him about his diet, he'd say, I want to make sure it's good food. And what he means by good food is like hearty food. It's like kind of your fish suppers, your pies, your meat pies and your chips and all that kind of stuff, or mashed potato and kind of thing. Like his approach is definitely like it has to be like homemade good food. Right. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the macronutrients. And Kean Amadi takes a different approach. He has his like raw carrot and then his raw cucumber, and then he goes back for his second sitting with tuna.
He chews it all up, spits it together into a bowl.
Yeah, he does sometimes.
Yeah. For a start, you've got to want to eat it. I don't know what it's like as a sprinter, but as an endurance rider, you're doing big hours, you consume a lot of calories. You've got to want to eat for a start. For us guys, it's almost it's difficult to maintain muscle mass, maintain weight, and Al does a good job. Our chef, he makes us food that actually tastes nice. Yeah, and
shout out to Al because I think he's got you engaged in more nutrition more than you've ever been before. He's got me engaged in nutrition more than I ever have before, and he's an excellent Michelin star chef, so we're incredibly lucky to have him. But he's just got that passion and that.
He's realistic as well.
Yeah,
he knows that we're not going to sit down and have a big bowl of couscous and boiled chicken. We're just not going to do it. You just don't know. When you've just done a crit or a track session, your throat's burning with acid reflux. It just tastes of pain. You've got to want to eat it.
Yeah, because I remember we had a bit of an argument at the track because they were all about getting rid of Coca-Cola, getting rid of Haribo and all that kind of stuff. And I was kind of like, if I'm at the semi-finals of a sprint or something like that, and I say to the caterer this one year, I want a McDonald's because it's going to make me perform.
Yeah,
it should be there.
Yeah, I agree, and it's ridiculous. Like, if I say to people, I think Coca-Cola works better than your malted dextrin, like the sports scientists will come to me and say, no, it won't because of X, Y, and Z and A, B, C. However, I've been on training peaks or other various training platforms for 15 years now. I don't think I've hit a single personal best without a good dosage of, I don't know, real sugar.
Yeah.
In the form of Coca-Cola or Haribo. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I know that there's some sort of research to say that, if you swill Coca-Cola around your mouth, you don't even drink it, there's some sort of pathway between your gums and your brain that says, here we go, we got sugar coming. I'm not sure if you don't get that with, bland tasting, like malted dextrin thing. But for whatever reason, I'm not disputing the science and for 99% of people, that I'm sure they're right. But for me, honestly,
it's quite personal, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not trying to be rebellious here.
If you want it, you want it.
Yeah, I can't do it. If I want to do a good training session, I need sugary stuff, and it's got to be Haribo, Coke. That sort of stuff. I don't know why that is.
How many times did I say to you, when Valencia comes, where I say, all I need is just 2 slices of Nutella toasts to go where the next day after.
So Phil's a bit of, we probably haven't talked about this yet, but Phil's a bit of a Nutella connoisseur. So when he first moved to the track, when we first moved to Manchester, he had like 4 or 5 different pots of Nutella, and he'd be very specific about the maturity level with which each one was on. A bit like a sommelier with a fine wine.
Nice.
But the secret,
Nutella
honestly, like the secret to your success, genuinely, to an extent. No, it has. Honestly, I think it has because it gets you right in the head. I think, and I think that helps you, which is like a good bit of the cheapest shittest white bread you can possibly find with about an inch of Nutella on the top of it is what you need to go well.
I tell you, I had a few training sessions where I was feeling pretty shit, and I added 2 slices of Nutella. The day after I went worse, so maybe
caffeine, man. You got to think about how much caffeine you have.
But
you've got full-on coffee addiction.
Yeah,
now,
but I have like 3. When I don't have a coffee these days, I get like full-on headaches. So I should probably cut down.
What do you think about the idea of just like not having caffeine and then just going for it on like the big sessions, the big days? Because that's what I'm doing.
I don't think I could live without it. I'm
No, but you're
too addicted to coffee.
But you're so much of a coffee snob that sometimes you will go without coffee for a couple of days. So I will quite happily have like a pot of shit because my caffeine addiction is that bad that I will consume whatever's going basically just as long as I get caffeine. But sometimes you'll come home from like a competition or something and you'll be like, the coffee is so shit, I haven't had a coffee in a week.
Yeah.
And I've got the withdrawals, I've got the headaches, I've got the shakes, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just because I just like the taste of coffee, so I don't want a Costa coffee or Starbucks coffee or whatever.
So yeah, I guess my final cycling question, unless Phil has any more, is obviously at the World Championships, the Aussies had an absolute stormer. They skipped the World Championships previously to focus on the Commonwealth Games, and the World Championships we just had was like the first major showdown that you guys had in a long time. And as to anyone who's a cycling fan, it is like the Ashes on wheels, as you said earlier. So the Aussies did a 3:48:01 world record, set the world on fire, faster than anyone had ever done at Rio or anything like that. And GB did a 3:50:81. So how are we going to make up those more? Let's call it 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds and a bit, I guess.
Yeah, I think we can shave off time in a few places, strategy-wise, kit-wise, lifestyle-wise. By really zoning in on things and cutting stuff out of your life. It doesn't mean that they can't do the same in all those areas. They're onto a good thing. They've got a great set of lads. They work hard. They're very focused on one thing. And they've got Simon Jones there who knows what he's doing. And they're onto a good thing. They're going to be hard to beat.
Have they shown their cards already?
All I know is that we've been in this place before, and the time after that, and the time after that, and the time after that, and we've managed to turn it round. However, I think that we're at a bigger disadvantage now in real terms than we've ever been. So it's going to be hard to turn that disadvantage around than ever. Doesn't mean it can't be done. All I can say is we're doing our best. Honestly, we've got a great set. I've never been so happy with the physiologists, the coaches, the technical guys, and R&D, whatever you want to call it. Like, I'd be amazed if we don't do our best ever performance in Tokyo. Whether that'll be good enough, I can't predict the future.
And are you taking on that leadership role now within the team? Because you're like, you're I'll say this in the nicest way possible. You're the old man of the team.
Yeah.
You've been around the block a couple of times. Is that the message that you're delivering to the boys, basically? Because to have that margin, like 2 seconds, almost 3, is quite a big margin to be able to make up. Are you trying to kind of instill that hope and that optimism, a bit like G did for you in 2008?
I do my best. They're a set of lads. You know what I mean? I don't see myself as they're the core of the team. Cian, Mark Stewart, Ollie, that pack that hands out together in Manchester, that they are the team. I kind of feel like, I'm older than them. I've been there like a few times before, and I do think that I offer up my guidance, and I do try and lead the team more now. I've been called the team leader since 2012. Like, people said, Clancy's leading the team pursuit. Same in Rio. I've never really felt like it until now. And now there's a big enough age gap between me and the rest of them. Big enough gap in terms of experience and knowledge and all that. And
was that true even in 2012? Because obviously, like to say that Ed Clancy's the leader above.
It was, I guess, like the big name there.
Yeah, or even like Bradley, like leader of a Tour de France winning team.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
it's quite a good, it's quite a good compliment in a way.
Yeah, I guess so. Team pursuit is my thing. I'm a team pursuer, and but like I said, I never really felt like a leader in either of those because of Geraint was there, and it just kind of felt like we sort of joint led it. And then when Bradley did come back for 2016, he was such a big character in the team and such a big superstar. I kind of felt like Heiko looked to Brad to take the onus, which was fine with me. I don't think I'm like a natural leader, but I think these days I'm quite happy. And they're honestly, I've said it before in this podcast, but they're an ace set of lads. Honestly, I've never worked in such a happy little team. It's mint.
And absolute last question, because I just remembered we didn't cover this point earlier. You've got a bit of a unique kind of coach at the moment, because the coach that you have, which is Ian Dyer, used to coach myself, used to coach Phil.
Yeah.
He used to be a sprint coach, but now he's taken on that mantle of being the team pursuit coach. So he's not, he doesn't have that, in the nicest way. I like Ian, but in the nicest way possible, he doesn't have that kind of mantle that Heiko has, or like maybe previous people that have held that position. But you obviously have kind of total confidence in that.
What makes a good coach? The thing is, when you're Olympic champion, and you've the Aussie's got the world record right now, but when you're, let's say, the best of the best, as we were, in Rio, when we had the world record and we'd gone as fast as we've ever gone, it's like, well, where do you go from that? It's like nobody, not a single person on the planet can say, yep, I can get that group of lads and get them to go faster at that point in time and be 100% sure about that, can they?
Well, there'll be bullshitters that will say it.
Yeah, so like when I retire in 2020, and if someone says to me, do you want to coach like the 2024 team pursuit to get them to go faster and stronger than they've ever gone, I'll be like, well, I ain't got a clue how to do that. You know what I mean? Because if I knew how to make them go as fast as they could ever go, I'd be doing it right now. So how am I going to get them to go faster than what I know? So I think what I'm getting at is what makes a good coach is someone that's got the ability to manage. So they've got to listen to the riders and they've got to tell them their opinion from time to time, but they've almost got to be... It comes from the riders. Like the riders... So imagine like a child. A child is dependent on someone. And if a child was riding a bike, he'd probably be dependent on his coach. The coach would tell the child the training, and hopefully the child would do that. Now, when you come into that like teenager phase, it always happens. They become somewhat rebellious, right? And they become dependent. They don't need your help. They don't want the coach. They'll do it themselves. They know what they're doing. What does the coach know? And you enter that sort of like, you go from being dependent to independent. And then after that, you need to sort of realise that the riders have got to be independent, but at the same time utilise the experts around them. Now, the riders have got to think, right, what's working for me? Is it nutrition? Does that benefit me? And if so, what sort of nutrition? You speak to Lawrence, the physiologist, and you sort of interact with him. And it's almost like the coach is more of a mediator and a sounding board. You know what I mean? That's what I think makes the best coaches. They'll use them as a sounding board. They'll push you on things. They'll ask questions of you. But it's just about the coach needs to help the rider set up an interdependent way of working. Does that make sense? And he's ace at that. He's such a good sounding board. He listens to you. He challenges on your things. He pushes back. He puts you in contact with, like, you really need to speak to this person about this. You need to do that. He encourages it to be proactive in terms of planning and doing all that stuff. Your personal life and your training life and your race program. He's great, and I think it's actually the fact that he doesn't have any knowledge or any real previous knowledge of coaching Team Pursuit is a massive benefit to us, because he never says this is the right way to do it, or you should be doing the Team Pursuit like this, or you should do your changes like that.
Or the way we've always done it.
Yeah. He questions it, and sort of if we say something, he's like, okay, well, we can try that, or we'll put that to the R&D guys and see if they can come back any numbers on it. And yeah, he's mint. Yeah,
And I feel like the biggest difference was I saw that you guys communicate a lot more, like as a riders.
Yeah.
Like after every effort you do, even warm up efforts, you talk to each other and say, oh, Kian, you need to do this. Burke, you need to do this. I need to get more aero. And I don't think it's ever used to be like this. I think you all got a lot better, and then you use Ian to use him as a sounding board. I think as for sprinters, we can see a massive difference in there, and we can learn a lot from that, and we trying to change that now to.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the way it's going within BC, though. I feel like more and more the head coach, or the coach role within a discipline, actually becomes more of a people management position.
Yeah.
And it's about how, because we've got so many different expertise within that Manchester velodrome, whether it's physiologists, biomechanists, physiotherapists, S&C, they know that area better than the coach.
Yes, that's it.
And it's the coach's job to get the best out of everyone involved. Yeah. And it's that whole team environment, whether that's getting the best out of the support staff, the best out of the riders, the best out of management higher up, to give the resources to go back down.
That's it, yeah.
I think that's where it's kind of going a little bit.
It's almost like people managing, sounding board and people managing, rather than like, I am the coach, this is the best training known to man, go do as I say.
Which is almost kind of like the Heiko approach, I guess, because he was very set, again, a bit like the kind of Jose Mourinho style, who was like, I'm going to bring in my own people, I'm going to do it my way, and this is it. And if you don't adhere to it, then you're off, basically.
I agree. Yep, that's much more how Heiko worked, and it worked. We won the Olympics, so we can't knock him for that. But I just think if we're going to take it to another level, I think we're absolutely doing the right thing. Yeah.
I think that rounds off the cycling. Oh no, hold on.
Cycling with Ed Clancy.
The very, very final thing on cycling, which is going to lead us quite nicely on to other talking points, is you revealed to I believe it was the Yorkshire Post. Yorkshire Post.
Yorkshire.
That you're gonna pack it in 2020.
Yeah, for sure. I think
is that dead? Is that a Philip Hines guarantee that you're gonna pack it in?
Yeah. I'm done.
Are you sure?
In an ideal world, I'll make it to Tokyo, and then I want to step off that bike and be like, we're done here.
Only a few months ago, you said you were going to carry on.
No, I did not.
Or are you joking then?
Hey,
well, you gave a few teasers in that article, because you did say maybe I'll go on the road, maybe I'll do a bit of this, bit of that.
No. I might ride. I might do a few crits for fun, in some club kit, but I ain't gonna ride. I'm not gonna be part of British cycling anymore.
But you've got a few. Or you trying to set yourself up for after cycling as well already, so you've got a few secret projects we probably can't talk about.
You know what? If you get me back in 6 months, I could do a whole podcast on what I'm planning on later.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. I think it will be.
That'd be good for Phil, because he needs to know what to do after cycling.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a million things you can do, to be honest, and I'm dead excited about what's coming up. But I mean,
well, the amount of choice is almost the difficult bit, because it's like with the pedigree you've got and all the accolades and all that kind of stuff, that opens so many doors that it's not the same as doing like a vocational degree in like medicine or law, where you're pretty much just going to use it in that. Yeah, it's like the world's kind of your oyster a little bit.
I think loads of athletes think, oh, wow, what are we going to do? And again, it was a bit of a news story, like a negative news story, like what the athlete's going to do afterwards, and. You know what I mean? Like for anyone that's been in professional sport, great, you haven't got a business degree or whatever, but we have learned a lot. We've learned a lot. We've learned how to be successful, work in a team, how to communicate with people, and anyone that's been in British cycling for 10 years or whatever, I honestly believe you could pretty much go on to do anything you wanted. Not overnight. I'm not saying you can go walk onto the board of HSBC tomorrow. Like, of course you can't. But
you give it a go.
You could start somewhere, and you could work way up using the same values and work ethic you've done to get here. I think
watch out for Ed's secret project coming out.
Yeah, I want to start a cycling academy. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, you've let it loose.
Yeah, but what it entails is
good pressure there, Phil.
Yeah,
good journalistic pressure.
It's fine. I want people to know that's what I want to do, and I want there to be
a bit like a John Hellerty kind of thing.
No.
right,
Not
okay.
like a race team. I'm not trying to find like a...
Well, no, but he kind of nurtured a lot of riders, hasn't he? And
Yeah, well,
JLT was always known as a
I just
springboard.
yeah, but more like kids. Like
Yeah.
kids cycling academy. And I just want a place where... You know, when I was a kid, like I just talked about how much I enjoyed riding my BMX and my mountain bike and how beneficial that was for me. And I know it was for you. I know it was for Phil.
When I was a lad in Yorkshire.
When I was a lad. But, you know, the kids these days, and I've done a fair bit of research, and, you know, I've spoke to teachers of academies, of schools, and so on, and the kids struggle these days, right? The facts are, Callum, I know you'll be into all this stuff.
I love the facts.
The facts are, the world's never had it so good. You know, in terms of education. And
So why are people so unhappy?
there's a lot of children that are unhappy, and you know, I don't want to point the finger at social media, but it's difficult for them. I feel sorry for kids these days, because if they haven't got an iPhone or an iPad in their hand or Instagram telling them how they should have a Ferrari and a mansion by the time they're 18 and be a stockbroker, I feel like...
I mean, tell me about it. I'm dealing with Phil Hines, who wants to go for dinner in Audley Edge every day to look at all the flash cars that drive by.
Yeah, shut up, that's a lie.
And all the fat Rolexes that all the businessmen are wearing.
I love a nice
Yeah.
car.
I just want to create somewhere where kids can
Yeah.
like, have a laugh on their
A
bikes
safe space.
everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I got a fair amount of passion for that, as you probably know.
Or maybe we
And
can talk about it again in 6 months' time.
Yeah,
when
I
we've
can't tell you how it's going to happen.
launched it,
Like, you know,
hopefully.
what we're getting lined up. But I'm super excited about it. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so I think we're good. I think we've
Cycling completed.
We're cycling completed. We've got a lot of topics, but I think we've rambled on for long enough. And I'd just
Yeah.
like to thank Edward Clancy very much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
I
and
know you're
thanks for being
cheers,
so
guys.
open as well. This
Yeah, no worries. Always for you guys.
got to the gooey core of Ed Clancy through this
Yeah,
discussion.
It's a complicated thing.
Complicated.
Yeah.
Hey, cheers for having me, boys. Thanks a lot. And yeah, congratulations on getting me on some sort of social media thing.
You enjoying it?
Yeah, I've actually, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Like
yeah,
I said at the
fair
start, podcasts are good. Yeah, I think they're great.
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Phil will be bullying you for the next 4 or 5 days, trying to get a tweet and an Instagram post out of you.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Nice one. And
Thanks for
yeah,
listening.
tune in next week because we've got a very we're branching out of cycling for the
Yeah.
first time.
Got big wave surfer.
We had no, you're not supposed to reveal it yet, but yes, we do have a big wave surfer.
Yes.
We will not say the name.
Who is it?
Well, we can't say. It's such a bullshit. You know he's desperate to say it.
Go on,
tune
Phil.
in.
Do it
Tune
for
in
me.
for the next.
Tune in
Go
next
on,
week.
go on, Phil.
Andrew.
Oh, don't say it. Oh, Christ. Okay, here we go. So,
Anyways.
yeah, tune in next week to see a big wave surfer, and we're going to pick up on the comparisons between, cycling, which is such a power, endurance, technically kind of driven sport, to something surfing, which is totally different. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. All right. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.